Philadelphia and Arizona. Come up later this afternoon, the Redskins and Detroit. The Lions entertain the Redskins. There are the standings in the NFC East and the Central, where Detroit's tied with Minnesota and Tampa Bay. And Washington has a one-game lead over Dallas. They're in first place by themselves. The Redskins have beaten Detroit now 18 straight times if you count the playoffs. I'm Pat Summerall here with John Madden. And my question to you is, do you think the Redskins can do it again?
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the Washington Redskins, especially offensively. I mean, they got Brad Johnson, and now they have a real quarterback. Stephen Davis is having a great year running the ball. And as we looked at film and watched the Washington Redskins, that offensive line has really developed into something. And that's what they just have to do. And then once they can get the running going, then they got the play pass going, and they can really give Detroit some problems. Now, you say, well, what's the problem with the Redskins? Of course, it's their defense. And as Norv Turner said, if there's one place that we can improve, it's third down conversions. He said we play first down pretty well, second down pretty well, but they get us on third down, and that's what we have to tighten up today.
As far as Detroit is concerned, John, ex-Redskin Gus Frerotte is going to start at quarterback for Detroit in place of Charlie Batch. He beat the Bears on Thanksgiving Day. He looked good doing that. What do you think about his chances today?
Well, he has a lot of velocity on the ball, and watch him in practice last couple of days. He's looked very good, and it's going to be in Gus Ferrotte's hands today because the Detroit Lions do not have a real good running game. And they're going to have to throw the ball, but they do have good receivers. Jermaine Crowell is a top receiver right now. They got Herman Moore back, Johnny Morton, so they're going to give them a lot of three wide receivers, and Gus Frerotte is going to have to get the ball to those guys because they're their playmakers. Now on defense, they're playing without their two starting corners today, so I think they're going to have to rely on a big rush from their front four, putting a lot of pressure on Gus Frerotte.
Coming up, it's the Redskins and the Lions from the Silverdome. And John and I'll be back for the opening kickoff when Fox NFL Sunday continues after these local messages.
We're going to have to play better than we've ever played. Hey, you know what? Check this out. It's no problem because we can play better. Let's do it. Dig it, baby. Dig it on three. On three, baby. Whoop.
Welcome back. Just because this game will be played in a dome doesn't mean you don't have to battle the elements. Earlier today, the receivers warmed up. Michael Westbrook, warming up with the receivers coach, discussed the bad lighting. Inside a dome, the ball tends to get lost in the lights. It floats up, and it's almost, now you see it, now you don't.
No, not on the side, but the corner. Yeah. Bad. Worse than the sun.
Worse than the sun. Well, there's no sun outside. It's been raining all day in Pontiac, but those lights have been a factor every time we've been here.
And that's what the Redskins receivers were trying to get adjusted to with their coach, Terry Robisky. And it's the deep balls that go high in the air and come down that are the problem.
Jason Hansen kicks off. It'll be Brian Mitchell right at the goal line. Mitchell dragged down inside the 15, about the 14. Let's look at the Washington offensive line. Big and very effective. Heck, Sims, Raymond, Trey Johnson, and John Jansen, the rookie on the right side. Westbrook, Davis, and centers in the backfield. Sellers starts at tight end, and Albert Connell is wide on the other side. Brad Johnson leads this group, and it's a very effective group. Davis bangs straight ahead. Close to first down. Ron Rice makes the stop. Let's look at the Detroit defense. They'll be challenged today. The front four, Scroggins, Ellis, Jones, and Porcher, very quick. Three linebackers, Claiborne, Boyd, and Aldridge. J.B. Brown and Robert Bailey open at the cornerbacks. Carrier and Rice, the two safeties. First down. Handoff straight ahead to Larry Centers, who gets a couple. Two new cornerbacks that you were talking about. Terry Fair was supposed to be on the right side. Westbrook was supposed to be on the left side. Westbrook has hamstring problems, and Terry Fair has a broken hand. That just occurred.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing. He was here on Friday I watched him practice, and he was out there and he was fine. He came in Saturday and broke a knuckle, and he had a cast on his hand, and said he was going upstairs and fell down and broke a knuckle and can't play.
Brad Johnson gets it out wide to the right to Davis, who's hit after he picked up a couple of yards.
One of the things that the Redskins think they can do or thought they could do was work on the Detroit Lion linebackers with their backs and tight end. They thought that, that their linebackers like Stephen Boyd, who we see there, is a real good run player, but none of their linebackers, they feel, are good pass defenders.
And now with two new cornerbacks.
With the two new cornerbacks, I think I would work my wide receivers on their cornerbacks, because that underneath stuff, that stuff to the backs and the tight end, that's just going to be garbage stuff anyway.
Brian Mitchell in the backfield. Centers comes out in motion. Brad Johnson pumps and runs, and he's going to take off, and let's see if he gets the first down. Close to it. I think the last dive might have gotten it. There's a flag on the play.
There's a lot of things that North Turner and Brad Johnson both say is haven't been a basketball player. Brad Johnson was a great high school basketball player and played basketball at Florida State, because he has some basketball instincts, and I think we just saw
offense,
one.
Number 30. 10-yard penalty
Holding
remaining.
against
Third
Brian
down.
Mitchell. Let's see.
And Brian Mitchell is right here. You see number 30. You see he starts there, and right there he grabs him.
That's
In
grabbing.
fact, if Brian Mitchell doesn't do that, though, I think Brad Johnson is sacked, don't you?
Yeah. He had a beat on him. So it's third down.
I think
17.
he held him before he held him, too.
Yep. Twice hold.
Double dip.
The Lions put the heat on Brad Johnson. Larry Centers takes the screen pass, and he hurdles a couple of Lions and gets near that yellow line indicating first down.
Yeah, and that's the guy you want to throw a screen pass on, is the guy that gives a big pass rush. Now watch Tracy Scroggins. He's going to come here, and he gets the biggest pass rush. You see that? And you invite him up the field, get the big pass rush, just dump it, and then go from there. And then you have to dive and kind of hydroplane yourself to get that first down.
And that leap is what did it. First and 10.
Larry Centers has been a heck of a good receiver in this league for a long time.
What an addition. Here comes the end around. Johnson gets in the way of Michael Westbrook, who gets out to the 40. 39 make it of the Redskins. They're still in Detroit territory.
That's the thing that you want to run. They didn't run it real well. Michael Westbrook just ran out of bounds. At some point on that thing, you have to cut it up. But the thing that a reverse does, it makes that defense stay at home, and they think about that the rest of the day, and they're yelling, the defensive end, like here, Scroggins, watch out for the reverse, watch out for the reverse, stay home, do those kinds of things, and they don't pursue the run as aggressively.
Two tight ends set up this time. Johnson fakes. They do that very well, and he throws too far. Westbrook, the intended receiver. Brad Johnson not supposed to be able to throw it too far, but he did throw it too far.
And he was working on Robert Bailey there. I've always been impressed with Robert Bailey, though. He's taken Bryant Westbrook's place, and he's a good cover guy. I mean, he played on Thanksgiving Day.
Played very well.
And he played very well. And, it's not like you're bringing in a rookie. I mean, Robert Bailey's been in the league for 9 years, so it's not like you're bringing in some kid. He knows how to play the game.
He has a knack for making things happen.
And with a name like Bailey, your nickname's always Beetle.
Mitchell takes the trap to another Redskin first down.
They were talking about that Brian Mitchell may be through, and he's over the hill, and maybe he ought to quit and stuff, and they got Larry Centers, and Mitchell doesn't play as much, but every time I see him, he's making plays. Whether it's a return or a play like this, anytime they put Mitchell in the backfield by himself, you see what the Detroit defense is, they think pass. Yeah, so they all rush the passer, and then that opens the draws and delay type plays.
Usually they have a little face-off with one of the defenders after the play is over.
Oh, yeah, he keeps going after the whistle blows.
This is Davis. Crosses midfield into Detroit territory, stopped by Rice.
You know, Rice has made 2 or 3 tackles on these runs, which isn't really a good sign, because Ron Rice is a safety, and that means when your safety is the initial guy making the tackles, that they got through your front 4 and your 3 linebackers. Ron Rice talking about Thanksgiving. Remember, Mark Carrier was suspended, so Ron Rice had to play his position, free safety, and make all the adjustments, and he did a good job.
2nd and 6, blitz coming. Johnson gets it out of there to Larry Centers. About 3 yards shy of that first down marker.
Their normal tight end of the Redskins, Pat, Steven Alexander, is out today, so I think what Norv Turner is trying to do is use, you know, a combination of Brian Mitchell and a combination of Mike Sellers, some as a blocker, and Larry Centers, and use all those types of guys that would catch balls that the tight end would normally catch.
3rd and 4. Davis gets a rest. Centers in motion. Johnson fires out of there, and it's almost picked off, and it's caught by Centers in the air. He got the deflection.
I think they're going to say it's down. Yeah, the officials are saying it was down. I remember a play like that once a long time ago in my life.
I think you do. I remember it too.
It wasn't Larry Centers running down there. It was Franco Harris. But this ball did hit the ground. But watch what, you know, Brad Johnson moves around well in the pocket, and he's a strong guy. He throws that ball there. I don't know where it hit the ground now.
We'll have to look at another angle.
Yeah, you see that number 27 is Mark Carrier. It came off of Carrier. That's where it hit the ground. It hit the ground before it came off of Carrier.
That's very close.
No, but it did hit the ground.
I thought his arm was under it.
No, I saw it hit the ground, I think.
They might challenge this one.
Well, if they think what you did, they'll challenge it. If they think what I did, they won't.
Right.
See, I think as it goes in right here, I think the ball's going to hit the ground. I think it hit the ground right there.
I think it did not. I think it hit his arm and bounced up.
I'm starting to agree with you more than I agree with me.
I like that.
No, I did. I thought I definitely saw the ball hit the ground, but on that one I didn't see the ball hit the ground, so this should be challenged.
But the pass was incomplete.
Well, Bobby Ross has got something on his mind.
I think Norv Turner is chasing an official down the sideline.
Yes, he is.
You know, but they can't give him a touchdown, because even if they reverse this, they would have to do it where Mike Sellers first touched it, because they blew the whistle. They blew the ball dead. See, if they would have let it go, I mean, if they do reverse this, it should have been a touchdown. But they can't give them a touchdown because they blew the whistle.
They can't change that ruling, you're saying?
No, they can't change the ruling of a touchdown. They have to be, if they say that the ball didn't touch the ground, it's going to have to be dead where Sellers gets it.
You mean where Centers gets it?
No, where Sellers
gets it after it bounced off Mark Carrier.
Yeah, right.
I think it bounced off his arm.
Yeah.
Centers.
It's right there where Centers gets it. I think it has to be dead there, because they can't give him the touchdown.
If they change the ruling, and he's still looking.
And I agree with you more than I agree with me. But see, did you see how
maybe the
Centers
first time
started?
that ever happened.
I don't agree with me. You see how Centers started to slow up, then that meant that they blew the whistle. So if they change it, it can't be a touchdown. But it can be a first down for the Redskins. In pretty good field position.
Well, he's taking a long look. The referee, by the way, is Bob Wagner.
This is the first angle that they look at. This is the first thing they see, because this was the original play-by-play. I don't know. I mean, from there you can't see the ball touch the ground.
No, you can't. Well,
and now he can look, you know, some of our other replays after that.
In his 90 seconds. This is a long visit into that dark, lonely tunnel. The referee is Phil Luckett. Yeah, I'm sorry. Phil Luckett was here last Thanksgiving when they had the controversial call about heads or tails.
You got that straight now. Now we can listen to this one.
After reviewing the play, the ball did not hit the ground and is caught. The play was over at the 30-yard line, first down.
Well,
that's what we thought.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you thought originally, and then I agreed with you, and then the ball is at the 30-yard line because that's where center's got it. Now, had they made the right call and not blown the ball dead, that would have been a touchdown for the Redskins. So they win the challenge. It doesn't cost them a timeout.
Right.
They lost a touchdown. They have a first down at about the 30-yard line.
And I'm rising in esteem. Yours at least.
Yeah. I thought I saw a little brown on green there, but I didn't see brown on green.
Bob Wagner is the umpire.
You know who this guy is right there? Byron Boston is his name, and his son is David Boston, who was the #1 draft pick of the Phoenix Cardinals.
Whose agent is his sister.
She's a lawyer from Texas.
From Dallas.
And he can't officiate a game that his son plays in unless it's a playoff game. Whether the Cardinals get to the playoffs or not.
The only thing left would be for her to be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader.
But you know, this isn't over. I mean, we think this is over, but there's still some more discussion.
Well, this delay is supposed to last 2 minutes max.
Well, I think that, you know, Phil Luckett, you know, is telling the officials now what he saw. And I guess they all agree because they've all run to their positions.
Well, it's a first down, Redskins. That little dispute, if you want to call it that, took about six and a half minutes.
Yeah, but it was fun. There was a lot of drama to it.
The handoff to Davis. A lot of whistles.
You know, one of the guys that's playing real well for this Redskin team is their right guard, Trey Johnson. I think Larry Allen is the best offensive lineman in football, but I think if you say next, I think Trey Johnson is pretty close. And if you look at the plays where the Redskins have had their success, he's playing right guard there and running right in behind him. There they go again.
That's Davis again. A flag on the play. Boyd on the stop. Phil Luckett.
Holding, offense number 77, 10-yard penalty. It remains. Second
Trey
down.
Johnson.
And we were just talking about Trey Johnson and how well he was blocking. He sees going there against Luther Ellis. Ellis, a very quick, very active defensive tackle. In fact, he gets Trey Johnson going backward.
Yeah, obviously very powerful to go along with.
I mean, you know, Trey Johnson not only had a penalty, but he got whipped on the line of scrimmage right there by Luther Ellis.
2nd and 12. Blitz coming. Brad Johnson spins around and throws a screen to the other side to Larry Centers, who picked up maybe a yard. Right now for an update, let's return to Chris Myers in Los Angeles.
Replace. You're going to see.
Back at the Silverdome, obviously we're having some problems. Washington nothing, Detroit nothing. 7:25 left in the first quarter. The Redskins have had the ball so far all the time. 3 wide receivers set up. on 3rd down. Mitchell back across the field to Mitchell.
See, that's the thing that you know, where you try and work on the linebackers and do that type of stuff. That is good, I think, on 1st and 2nd down, but I don't think it's the thing to do on 3rd down. Watch Stephen Boyd here. He's in a zone, playing, and now he comes up and makes a good tackle. I mean, that is a great play because he had to make an open field tackle there to stop the Redskins from getting a 1st down.
So Conway will try for the field goal from 42 yards out. He was wide right 5 times in a row in warm-ups.
This could be an exciting play for a Redskin fan.
That one's plenty good. Plenty far enough and right down the middle. And the Redskins, after they took the opening kickoff, get a field goal. 3-0. They're ahead. Of course, he went to the University of Michigan. Heisman Trophy winner, has been around the NFL.
Yeah, and they didn't get him here until late yesterday afternoon. And all the equipment that he's wearing is not his equipment from Green Bay. This is all new equipment.
Desmond Howard back up to about the 20. .6:11 left to play at the Pontiac Silverdome. The Redskins 3, the Lions nothing. Detroit has the ball for the first time, trailing 3-0.
And Detroit has 4 wide receivers in there.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And they've got some dangerous ones split out there. Gus Frerotte. Flag on the play.
I think they had all that. And one of the things Bobby Ross talked about yesterday, too, was to spread them out to get some running lanes.
False start, offense, number 64. 5-yard penalty remains, 1st down.
Here's the Detroit offensive line. Robert Semple, Mike Compton, Jeff Hardings, and Barrett Brooks. Morton, Greg Hill, Schlesinger, David Sloan at tight end, and Jermaine Crowell. But we saw 4 wide receivers that time. 1st and 15 for the ex-Redskins.
And now there's 3 wide receivers.
Hill. And here's the Redskin defense, which has been kind of porous. Coleman, Stubblefield, Wilkinson, and Anthony Cook. Barber, Derek Smith in the middle, and Greg Jones. Darrell Green, remarkable Darrell Green, and Champ Bailey, the corners. Evans and Shade are the safety men.
And the Redskins are in their dime defense now, 6 defensive backs.
4 wide receivers. Hill gets the carry, breaks 1 tackle. Right now for an update, let's return again to Chris Myers in Los Angeles. Back in the Silverdome, Brock Olivo is the lone setback. Frerotte yelling to his receivers, 3rd and 4. Frerotte. Incomplete.
Yeah,
Bailey.
He tried to throw one of those jump balls up to Herman Moore. You know, just get him out there against the rookie Champ Bailey. You see, Champ Bailey has good coverage. He gets his hand on there within the first 5 yards, looks back. They try that jump ball, but there was nothing there. That really, Gus Frerotte really didn't get it up high enough, did he?
No.
Neither Herman Moore nor Champ Bailey had a jump.
John Jett's punt. Mitchell says stay away from it. That's a good choice. Short kick. 4:44 left in the first quarter. 3-0 the Redskins over the Lions. That football might be a little slick and hot to handle.
I was wondering how they did that, weren't you?
Yeah. Brad Johnson throws high to Connell.
Well, you know, he has to get his wide receivers involved, because if you look at the pass distribution on their first drive, he only threw one to a wide receiver. That was the long one to Michael Westbrook, none to his tight ends, and he was 6 for 6 to the running backs. And I think that's one of their game plans. One part of their game plan is to work the running backs against the linebackers, but on some down, you know, to get big plays or big chunks of yardage, you have to get it to those 2 outside receivers.
Fake to Davis. Johnson steps away from pressure. Pass is picked off by Ron Rice. A one-handed snag by Rice.
I tell you, Robert Porcher hit Brad Johnson just as he threw the ball. Porcher comes from the outside, misses Johnson the first time. Watch this. Here's Porcher. He comes out there. Right there, he's going to miss him. Now watch him. He'll stay with him, run. And just right when he throws the ball, he hits him. And the ball goes awry. That's just Robert Porcher almost has Brad Johnson twice. He gets him the first time right there. He almost has him, grabs the shoulder pad, almost gets him again. Now watch Brad Johnson. Look. But you're going to see number 50, Chris Claiborne, right there. See, he tips it. And then Ron Rice comes in and makes a heck of a catch for the interception.
Reaching back, a one-handed catch.
But a big part of that play was also Chris Claiborne, the linebacker.
Correct. Perrott to Crowell. Pick up about 6.
Gus Frerotte was saying yesterday that, you know, he's going to have a tough time holding back his emotions, because he's playing against the team that cut him, the team that didn't think he could play anymore, the coach that didn't have any confidence in him. And a big part of him is saying, I want to go out and show him. And the other part of him is saying, but I have to stay calm to play the game. So Gus Frerotte has a few things going on here today.
2nd and 3. Right now he has a first down in mind. And that hard count might have gotten it. He got a flag on the play as Greg Hill is stopped after losing about a yard.
And there's another flag coming later. The first one is going to be against Big Daddy Wilkinson. As you said, he did get him on the hard count. Big Daddy was down there and he was ready to go, and Gus Frerotte gave him that hard count and he jumped. Then there is another flag, which would be a different penalty too. That second one is illegal block below the waist. It'll be against Detroit. The first one will be against the Redskins.
There were 2 fouls on the play. Offside, defense, number 95. Personal foul, illegal crackback block, offense number 84. By rule, the 5-yard offside is disregarded. The 15-yard penalty is enforced from the previous spot where we repeat, first down.
Herman Moore.
If you look, here's Herman Moore right here. And that's going to be the illegal block below the waist. You see it right there. That wasn't a very good block. I mean, that was one of those things where
a whiff.
He just came in there and rolled on the ground. He didn't hit anyone. And as I said, Dan Wilkinson jumped off sides, but the 15-yard penalty overrides that, so they don't count the 5-yard, and they go to the 15, which really didn't look like much against Herman Moore.
2nd and 18, nevertheless. Redskins show blitz. A flag on the play. They did it. They blitzed, but there's a penalty marker down. Greg Jones got there, but he might have reached by for the face mask.
And I think Big Daddy got a little upset when he jumped offside. Wilkinson gave a pretty good pass rush on that. And you are right, that is going to be a face mask, but that was a big push by Dan Wilkinson. You know, sometimes you can get those big old linemen to jump off sides, but sometimes when you get those big old linemen to jump off sides, you make them mad.
Defense, number 95. 15-yard penalty with an automatic first down.
And that's Wilkinson. We're going to see he gets the whole thing. He gets the pass rush right there, and he also gets the face mask. Here it is.
Face mask?
But look how strong he is. Yeah, right there. You see the left hand. He got the face mask.
Yep.
But it was a heck of a pass rush. He took old Tony Semple, the left guard, and just put him right back in the backfield.
1st and 10. Reverse coming as Farad fakes it and then kept it. I think he meant to give it, and he saw a misconnection coming, so he kept it.
Yeah, and it didn't fool Kennard Lang. You're going to see number 90. He just kind of waits right here. And this is the thing. You have to keep containment. He was trying to. Now, Kennard Lang right there got so much penetration. I think he got there before Farad could comfortably hand it off. Now, if you can't hand off the ball comfortably, don't hand it off. See, I think that was the thing that he could have, or he could have pitched it, or he could have done something stupid, and he didn't.
2nd and 9. Farad from behind. The Heat gets him. That's Marco Coleman around the corner.
And you were right. He did come from behind, and he came right now, and that was the same place Kennard Lang made the good play the play before, and then Marco Coleman comes from that backside. Here's Coleman right here going against Ray Roberts, and you just see he starts to the outside, then he makes that inside move. You see when Roberts steps out, Coleman just clubs him with that left hand, knocks him out more, and then takes that inside. Good move by Marco Coleman.
Ray Roberts had an outstanding game the last time they played on Thanksgiving Day. Here's Farad back in the pocket. Ball hits the ground, whistles blow.
And Gus Farad was getting some pressure from that backside.
Yep.
Again, it was Marco Coleman, this time on a stunt, and I think maybe Farad felt the pressure, and that ball kind of come out of there kind of funny, didn't it?
Felt the pressure before it arrived. Brian Mitchell back deep for John Jett's punt. Mitchell lets it bounce into the end zone. They'll bring it out to the 20. 1:38 left to play in the first quarter. Washington 3-0.
Dude.
Next week it's a Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader. First it's an NFC East battle as the Eagles try to slow down Emmitt Smith and the Cowboys run for the playoffs. Then the NFC Central leading Lions clash with Warren Sapp and the Bucs. Coverage begins at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. Davis.
You know, we talked about the noise and the things that the Redskins did in practice this week. They took 15 plays. They have a gymnasium, and they went inside and put a bunch of noise in there. That was one of the things. On 3rd down, they have a silent count. Then the other thing, if you look on Brad Johnson's wrist, he has the plays there. So if they can't hear, they can just signal in a number, and he'll call them off that wristband.
2nd and 5. Irving Fryer was a man in motion, but that's Davis. I keep hearing an extra whistle. Do you?
Or
maybe it's just me.
No, I haven't heard any extra whistles. But I'll tell you, this Stephen Davis has really been a success story. I mean, who would have thought that he was going to be the guy that would put up the numbers this year? And one thing about him, he said that he's learned to run a little lower, get behind his shoulder pads, and that's part of it. The other part, I think, is a steady offensive line. And the other part is what we just saw there. I mean, he gets to that hole
and
quickly.
He's strong and a lot bigger than people think he is.
Hey, you forget that you think Stephen Davis and a tailback or running back, you don't realize he's about 235 pounds.
Aldridge is the injured Lion.
It's Larry Peccatello, the defensive coordinator, who will have to make another adjustment if Alan Aldridge is hurt. He lost Terry Fair, his starting right corner, yesterday. We talked about that earlier, how he broke a knuckle at home on Friday night falling upstairs. His Starting J.B. Brown out there and Robert Bailey.
Right now, for another update, let's return to Chris Myers in Los Angeles.
All right, Pat, while Washington and Detroit.
Back here, it's 3-0 Redskins, 3rd and 1.
This is when the noise comes up in here in this stadium. 3rd down.
1st down.
Oh, and he got right in behind Trey Johnson.
Yep.
You know, and that's what we're talking about. They can run behind Trey Johnson to the right side, or they can do this. Watch here. Trey Johnson is here. He's going to come and pull and lead, and Stephen Davis gets right behind him, and he's going to get the block. Trey Johnson gets the block. The little oomph right at the end, right there. You see that little oomph there was what got Stephen Davis the 1st down.
And that's the end of the 1st quarter with the score: the Redskins 3, the Lions 0. Fox NFL Sunday from the Silverdome will continue after these messages. Silverdome, Pontiac, Michigan, home of the Detroit Lions. 1st quarter statistics: Washington 47 yards rushing, 46 passing. They pretty well dominated this 1st quarter. Brad Johnson to Davis.
You know, we're talking about how Brad Johnson has a wristband on. It's interesting that you see Stephen Boyd, he's the middle linebacker, and he has a wristband on. So they call defenses by number. So they'll put like number 7 in. Mark Carrier has the same wristband, so he makes a call for the secondary. Stephen Boyd has the wristband. He makes a call for the front, and it comes from a number from the sideline of Larry Peccatello.
Quick throw to the outside from Johnson to Albert Connell. A little bit short of the 1st down.
I was just going to say, who would have thought that it's a game of wristbands? The quarterback has a wristband on, and he's playing with his wristband. He's looking at that. Then the linebacker has his wristband, so he gets the defenses to stop the offense's plays that are coming in from the wristband to the wristband.
Linebackers come out. The Lions go with their dime package against 4 wide receivers for Washington. Johnson. James Thrash, I believe, got enough for a 1st down, but it's going to be close.
Yeah, that's going to be very close because that pass was short of the 1st down. They rolled right and tried to get the 1st down, but it was completed. Then Thrash came up with a 2nd effort to get that 1st down. Robert Bailey was on him, and he really didn't wrap him up or knock him out of bounds that 1st time. But I've always felt that you have to have a play for that situation. That 3rd and 3, you know, it's not long yardage. It's not a real long passing down. It's not short yardage, but it's that kind of play.
Flag on the play as Johnson drops and throws at the Lion helmet in midfield.
That has to be one of those that happened before the ball was snapped, and usually when that happens, it's against the offense.
Prior to snap, false start, offense on the running back, 5-yard penalty remains, 1st down.
You know, we were talking about, you know, Brad Johnson, you know, and his numbers, and you can see that under 15 yards, he's 7 out of 8, 1 for 3, 15 yards or more. So they've been working that underneath and really haven't stretched the defense yet, or tried to.
Davis gets back up to just about the original line of scrimmage.
And one of the things that he was talking about is getting AC, Albert Connell, and Michael Westbrook, both of his outside receivers. He said getting them involved in the game early, because if you don't, you know, they start to press a little. And I'm not saying these two do, but some of these receivers, they start to pout a little. And you always want to get them. And that's not always a negative thing. Jerry Rice was that way. Michael Irvin was that way. Sterling Sharp was that way.
That's just natural, I think. Johnson has to get rid of it as Tracy Scroggins slipped the blockers and put the heat on.
And there's a penalty. Johnson took a look at Tracy Scroggins and saw him coming. and then he put the ball down, but he saw that thing coming.
There is no foul on the play. Number 48 was ruled in the proximity of the pass. Number 48. Incomplete pass, 3rd down.
They were going to say that he was throwing it away, but then they saw that Stephen Davis was there. But watch, he's going to feel Scroggins come from the backside. Not feel, he's going to see it right there. See him put the head down? He said, I better get on my horse and get rid of the ball. And what they're saying is that 48 was in the proximity as they first threw the flag for illegal grounding.
How big is the proximity?
That was a big proximity they gave him there.
Johnson again unloads quickly. Ball's loose. Albert Connell, I think, got it back for the Redskins.
I'll tell you, this Detroit defense is getting after the Redskins now. They started off and they were a little soft, and now they are taking off. I mean, Porche's taken off in there. Scroggins has been taken off. Luther Ellis has been strong in that middle.
And the 2 cornerbacks, who are strange cornerbacks, they haven't been able to take advantage of them yet.
Yeah, but they're real veterans. I mean, J.B. Brown is 11 years. Robert Beetle Bailey is 9 years. So you're not talking about a couple of kids out there either.
True. Desmond Howard back deep for the Lions and out of bounds. Matt Turk. There's a little fracas, breaks out up at the 30, but the referees stop it. 3-0. Redskins over the Lions.
Watch this, Curtis Buckley right here, and he's covering the punt. He's the outside guy, and look at the doubles that they get out. Wherever he goes, there's a blue jersey there, and he finally gets out. He thinks it's over. Then there's one more whap, and he's going to end up with a throw. Those guys are in a dogfight until the whistle blows.
Johnny Morton shakes one tackler and gets a Lion first down. Outside the 35.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things that they probably talked about is they hadn't thrown the ball to Johnny Morton yet. See the first 2 possessions there. 3 plays, 6 yards of punt, 5 plays, -3 in punt. So the Lions really haven't gotten their offense going yet today.
And Johnny Morton has had an outstanding year up to now. Couple maybe,
and they're not going to find any. I mean, if the Redskins can do something pretty well, it's play that inside run. We're talking about Big Daddy Wilkinson. We're talking, Stubblefield in there. They got this thing here, and that triangle there is pretty strong, and they can take on blocks, and then they can get an 8th man up. They play the run in the middle on 1st and 2nd down pretty well. They have a problem with the draw on 3rd down.
They got a lot of money invested in that triangle in the middle. This is Greg Hill. And Hill nudges up toward a first down, and if they didn't blow the whistle, he's got it. They move that whole pile up.
That's the definition of moving the pile. And that got that whole Lions sideline excited. That's getting everyone up there. If you can't run in there at the triangle, then get out here to this side. That's exactly what Greg Hill does. You see, he starts to the outside, stretches the defense a little, makes them think that he's going outside, and then cuts back to the inside, never stops his feet going, and his blockers stay with him.
Yep. And they move the sticks as a result of all that.
Yeah, you talk about guys who are always around the pile. That was Tony Semple. Did you see him, number 62?
Yep.
He's a left guard. He's a guy that likes a little extracurricular action. He had a guy around the neck pulling him backwards.
Morton and Crowell both split wide to the right. Schlesinger is the only back. Better hurry. Didn't hurry.
It's one of those things I said. The sideline was so excited.
Offense, 5-yard penalty. It remains 2nd down.
Yeah, they were so excited about that last play. I think they forgot to get the next play in. Yeah, let's look at that last pile again and see. Now watch Matt Stevens, number 23 there. He's trying to grab a hold of something, just anything. But when you're in there and you're that small trying to do something, you become part of the pile.
Maybe you shouldn't be in the pile.
Oh no, you always got to be in the pile.
First
Pile's open, you got to get on it.
Perrott swings it out to the tight end, David Sloan. Some doubt about whether he'd be able to play today or not with a bad toe.
He has one of those turf toes, and I mean, it just never gets better. It's something that's going to nag you all season, and you either play with it or you get to the point where you can't, but you go as long as you can, and that's what David Sloan is doing.
That's one of those that'll get well next April sometime. Perrott, quick pass, Crowell, first down.
Now this is an impressive player, this Jermaine Crowell, because he's big and he's strong and he's fast. Here it's just a little slant. He gets inside of Champ Bailey. He just did that with movement, because once he gets inside, they're going to get that slant unless a linebacker runs out there. I think he lost a contact. I think that's when you have problems with a slant. You will get a contact knocked out.
Schlesinger, the lone back behind Perrott, and he gets the carry.
Schlesinger had a little swerve going there. Did you see it?
Champ Bailey made the stop.
Crowell still. He had it. Did you see what Crowell did there? He had it. He had it in his hand, put it in his glove, and he fumbled it again.
No laces.
And look, now you get it on there, and you get it off the other guy's finger, and you put it on your finger. See, the glove's following it up. Jermaine, take the glove off.
This is a very delicate operation.
That's pretty good. I think he got it in there. That's a steady hand.
That Greg Hill.
Oh, it's still not in there. You need that mirror. There.
Mirror.
Yeah, I think he
the
got
glove
it
is the
there.
key. You're right.
No, the glove. You got to get the glove out. See, those things don't work. Now just get it close and slam it in there.
Well,
he's asking
somebody
for
else to do it now.
Well, he gave it. That's one of the rules. You give it 5 shots yourself. If you don't do it yourself, you ask someone else to do it.
Or you take the gloves off. 3rd and 10. Gus Perrott fades and throws. Johnny Morton made the catch. And he might have been just a little bit short of the first down.
Yeah, he's right there. That was on Darrell Green, the old 17-year veteran. Darrell Green gave him a little cushion, but not enough cushion to get a first down. Crowell was trying to get that contact lens back in. Now watch, there's you see Darrell Green. Johnny Morton stops and comes back and didn't get the first down.
So Jason Hansen is on to try for the field goal.
Johnny Morton should have, he had to go down to get that ball. If he could have caught that ball and made a turn or a spin to get the first down. You have a feeling that Darrell Green, being the wily old 17-year veteran, knew exactly what he was doing and knew that he didn't have a first down.
Hansen just over 50 yards. He'll get it there. And it's good. Just outside the 50. Hansen ties the score at 3 apiece. Fox Sports presents Olympic and world champion athletes in the most dynamic head-to-head competition of the season. Skating's elite team up in the 2nd round of the Grand Slam of Skating Pro Super Teams Challenge later today on Fox.
Fox could make a series out of Jermaine Crowell trying to get that contact lens back in that right eye. That could be a half-hour special. He missed the whole series.
Kickoff sails to the 5, and this is James Thrash, who can really run. Got Hansen to beat. James Thrash had a big one last week. He's got a big one this week.
95 yards, and he had some good blocking I think what happened, I think the Lions all came to the inside. Thrash started to go to the inside, and then he cuts the ball to the outside. Now watch everyone. Here's his wedge right here. See, it starts to the inside, and see all the Lions inside?
Yeah.
They all come in. He brings them in. Now he breaks it to the outside, and there's no one there except the kicker, and you know he's not going to make an open field tackle.
James Francis shielded off the kicker.
You know, you have the two outside guys on kick coverage are your 4 and your 5 men, and they always have to stay outside the ball. The Lions didn't.
Extra point good. And just like that, it's 10-3. The Redskins lead it.
Talking about the 4 and the 5 man. Here's the 5 man. He has to stay outside. The 4 man is the next man in. But they both have to stay outside the ball. Now watch what happens to both of these guys. They get caught inside. You see right there? They run to the inside, and when your 5 man or your outside guy and your 4 man both get caught inside, you know that you're going to get a big outside return.
Well, Norv Turner said last night,
this Thrash isn't getting any rest at all. He just returned that 95 yards.
Yep.
Now he's back on kickoff coverage.
Desmond Howard, and he's out of the pack. Desmond Howard to the 45 and a flag on the play.
That's the thing you always talk about on a sideline when it happens to you. You know, the special teams coach said, okay, that just happened to us. Let's come back and give them one of the same things.
It's against Detroit. No, I'm starting to say Norv Turner told us last night that he was going to alternate Mitchell and Thrash returning the kickoffs.
Holding.
For that very reason,
44.
that he can start up the middle.
Penalty, first down.
Can start up the middle and break it to the outside, and that's exactly what he did.
And he has the speed, and he didn't feel that Mitchell has that speed.
Right. Tonight at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, Mulder and Scully encounter a mysterious force with the power to kill in the blink of an eye. Don't miss an all-new episode of The X-Files tonight on Fox.
Well, the Lions have to get this offense going now. You know, they have 23 yards running and only 36 yards passing. And if they're going to have offense, they got to get it to these 3 wide receivers. They're their playmakers.
Surratt to Johnny Morton. Stopped by Darrell Green. That's pretty good tackling technique right there.
That's real good tackling by Darrell Green. You know, he has an interesting philosophy about covering. He said he likes to keep everything in front of him. He's not a big guy or a physical guy, but he's very fast, and he likes to keep everything in front of him. So he likes to have, you know, the receiver and the ball and the quarterback. You see, he likes to be here outside the receiver, right here, and have the receiver, the ball, and the quarterback, and that's the way he covers. And I'll tell you, he's been doing it for 17 years. He's been doing it very, very well.
Second down. Corey Schlesinger.
Just to explain how he covers is he thinks that if he can be in this position here, a guy may get an in on him, but he's not going to get up. He's not going to get comeback. He's not going to get anything. And he said he's going to be able to see everything. He always wants to see the receiver, see the ball, and then see the quarterback. And the only way he can do it is by being in that position. He can't be in front of him, or he can't be on his side.
There are people in football who don't necessarily agree with that philosophy.
But I would say that it's not bad if it's worked for you for 17 years.
I would say that's correct. Corral from Farad.
And that's what the Detroit Lions had to do. Crowell finally got that.
Finally got that lens replaced.
Well, he did, and then they finally got the ball to him. You see, they were looking over to the other side. They had Johnny Morton also, and he comes back to Crowell. You see, he finds him there, and Gus Farad just throws him a perfect pass.
30-yard pickup.
Yeah, that was his first pass over 15 yards, and you just get a feeling that it was a matter of time until they got to this.
Pump fake. Farad. Touchdown to Herman Moore. Over Champ Bailey.
And not bad. It was a pump fake, like you said, and a double move by Herman Moore. That's an out and up. The old veteran on Champ Bailey. Watch Herman Moore. He's going to come out, and he's going to make the move. You see right there the out, and then Champ Bailey bites on the out. And then when Herman Moore went to do the out, Gus Frerotte gave him the pump fake. And then Champ Bailey was behind Herman Moore all the way, and Gus Frerotte threw a perfect pass. That was a heck of a move. That out was. You know, for a receiver to make that move, you have to have patience. Patience to stay with the out before you go to the out.
And you also have to have pass protection. And they had it. And
you have to have a quarterback who lays the ball in there perfectly and gives you the pump fake.
Hansen ties it at 10 with 3:23 left in the first half at the Pontiac Silverdome. Gus Frerotte, the ex-Redskin. 3 out of 3 Frerotte was on that drive, which totaled 59 yards. Chip Levitz, one of the 3 Detroit tight ends with a sprained left knee. He will not return. So now they have Rasby and Sloan, who's also injured.
It looks like a right knee.
Yeah.
Watch this, and you're going to see here. Now here's Herman Moore here, and then up here you're going to see the pump. So we'll be able to see both of them. You see when Herman Moore comes off the line and he makes the out move right there, that's when Frerotte pumped. And then he goes up and Frerotte throws it perfectly.
That's the way you draw him up.
That is, and again, the patience I was talking about. I mean, a lot of guys will know that they're going to go up and they won't really sell that out.
That's right.
But Herman Moore sold that out to Champ Bailey. Champ Bailey took a big bite out of it, and then Herman Moore ran right by him.
Back deep for the Redskins. Hansen's kickoff are Brian Mitchell and James Thrash, and they won't return this one. Deep into the end zone, taken by Mitchell. On New Year's Day, Fox will air the first game of the new millennium live from Dallas when the Texas Longhorns battle the Arkansas Razorbacks in the Southwestern Bell Cotton Bowl. New Year's Day here on Fox.
Whew. What was that?
Just a little hog call.
Do the hogs ever come when you guys make that call?
A lot of cows show up, but you got to get in a full hunker to make it effective. And close one half of your nose.
And you know how to do that.
Yeah, I can do it. 1st and 10 at the 20. The handoff is to Davis, who struggles for about 3.
And we just saw Gus Frerotte sitting down there, and he was really good. There's Herman Moore, who caught the touchdown. Crowell caught one on that. He had 3 completions on that drive to all 3 wide receivers. One to Johnny Morton, one to Crowell, and then, of course, the touchdown to Herman Moore. But that's what they had to do, because those are the playmakers. I mean, they're playmakers on the Detroit Lion offense, are not the running back or the tight end. The playmakers are the wide receivers.
Incomplete, and no flag intended for Sellers.
One of the things that Norv Turner was doing is saying we aren't going to throw much to Sellers. I mean, he's going to be more of a blocker. But what Detroit's doing is they're playing him in that too deep.
Yeah.
So they're giving him the middle of the field, and the guy to get there is your tight end. They're double covering the outside receivers and giving them the middle of the field, and you got to get the tight end to the middle of the field. Listen to this crowd now. They know 3rd down.
If you're on defense in this situation, look out for Larry Centers. Pump fake. Hit from behind is Brad Johnson. Ball picked up by Mitchell. And Mitchell, they might say his arm was going forward.
I don't know.
That's Keith Sims, who is the injured player. Let's see if his arm was going forward.
That was Stephen Boyd there. You see, he started to pump, then he brought it back. He gets that ball knocked out by Tracy Scroggins. Yeah, that was a fumble. But the Redskins, even though it was a fumble, the Redskins still did recover it.
Matt Turk to punt it for the Redskins, and Desmond Howard deep for Detroit. He is still remembered from his great collegiate days at the University of Michigan. Not far from here in Ann Arbor.
Remember on Thanksgiving, Owazeke had some trouble with the punt return, so Detroit was going to make a move anyway.
Yep.
Terry Fair was going to be the guy. He gets hurt, and now we see Desmond Howard.
2 minutes left in the first half. 10-10, the Redskins about to punt, or at least they're lined up in punt formation. Turk gets it out of there. Howard signal for a fair catch, bounced out of bounds, but there's a penalty marker down back where the punter was. They roughing?
They're going to call it's against them. It's a holding penalty against the Redskins.
Holding kicking team number 23. 10-yard penalty. Repeat. 4th down.
Matt Stevens, who got in the middle of that pile when it all moved a minute ago, was called for holding.
Scrappy little guy, Matt Stevens. In that pile, and you're just going to see him is right here. He just grabs and holds, and when you're an undersized guy, you have to use, if that were wrestling, you would call it good leverage. And that thing where you use his strength and his power and his speed to take him to the ground.
So Turk will have to punt again as the Lions take the penalty and move the Redskins back. Turk gets off a dandy kick this time as Desmond, 68 yards and a couple of real Desmond Howard memory moves.
What a move he made on Matt Turk. Matt Turk, the punter. Desmond Howard, he wasn't even here when we were here at practice yesterday afternoon. Watch this, he makes a couple of moves here.
Boy, does he.
He's going to start up, and he gets a hole right there. Now watch the moves that he makes on Matt Turk here. Bro, Turk didn't even touch him. That's where you have to go and scrape some stuff off the turf when you're done.
When we left here yesterday, the equipment man and the doctor were all that were left waiting for Desmond Howard to give him a physical and fit him out for a uniform.
And they did a pretty good job, and Desmond Howard did his job. Who would have thought, huh?
The last time a punt was returned by a Lion for a touchdown was by Mel Gray. Remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Back in 1992.
Mel Gray was one of the great return guys. Desmond Howard, remember the Super Bowl we did with the Green Bay Packers? He was the MVP of that Super Bowl.
He broke it open.
And again, but look at the moves he makes here. He gets a couple of good blocks, but those are good moves. And right now he gets one-on-one with Matt Turk. He just puts him in the ground.
Oh, Matt Turk will hear about that. He will say, well, I'm just a kicker.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you can't whiff. I mean, you got to.
An athlete.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be able to get your hand on a guy. But I don't believe that Matt Turk, after watching that picture, I don't believe he was playing basketball when he hurt his finger.
If he does, the guys were running by him pretty
There's a lot of guys that would like to be on a basketball court with a guy that moved like that. You know, most of these guys that don't even know Desmond Howard. I mean, you see them, they're coming up there and they're shaking his hand and introducing themselves. That was the old center, Mike Compton. He came up. Look, coaches are coming up.
They know him now.
I think that's Terry Fair right there.
Yeah.
He came up, yeah. Look, guys are coming in suits.
Hansen. This is going to be Thrash.
How many
Brian
of those?
Mitchell, I'm sorry.
How many of those guys you think Desmond Howard will remember that just introduced themselves?
They'll remember him, that's for sure.
You know, he was telling DJ Johnson before the game. DJ talked to him down in the field, and he said the returns aren't like he had at Green Bay, but the returns are like they had at Green Bay the first time he was there. He said they're similar to that, and So that's what he knows.
That's right. He's been at Green Bay twice.
Yeah, he's been at Green Bay. Well, he was a #1 draft choice of the Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
Heisman Trophy winner, 4th player taken.
Spent some time with the Raiders.
Yeah, they thought that he could be a receiver, and he could never adjust to be a receiver.
That's Mitchell. First down. Don't forget, coming up on the Visa halftime report, JB, Terry, Howie, and Chris will have first half analysis. They're all here. Plus, we'll have scores and highlights with Chris Myers, Marv Levy, Jackie Slater, and Chris Spielman. And our Fox Sports ticker will have all the second stats. And it's coming up on the Visa halftime report.
Yeah, we're talking about one thing they can analyze is this Detroit defense has given them a lot of cover, too, because they know they don't have a tight end. And you just look, they're playing the safeties way off. And this is the type of thing, so if you're going to hit something, see where the safeties are? The safeties are back here, so they're not worried about any inside threat. And this is the area where you have to throw the ball, and you usually do it with a tight end. I think the Redskins adjustment probably has to be right here, 3 wide receivers and do it.
Brad Johnson in the middle. Incomplete. Intended for Albert Connell.
That's where you have to go. That's what the Detroit defense has been giving them. And the Redskins are going to have to take advantage of that, and I'm sure they will in the second half.
Over the years, it seems to me that of all the Lions games we've done, which have been a lot, they have always played those safety men very deep.
They always do. Yeah, that's the thing. You're not going to be able to get deep on the Lions. I mean, they're not going to give you, unless they blitz or something, unless you catch them, they're going to be very difficult to get behind.
Blitz. They showed and backed out of it. A flag on the play.
Yeah, when you talk about noise and teams getting ready for noise, it's always their offense and third down.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense, number 83. 5-yard penalty remains, third down.
Albert Connell.
Now, that should never happen. I mean, if you're going to have a false start, it should be an offensive tackle. I mean, they have an excuse. A wide receiver has no excuse. Remember last week, he was a guy that didn't get out of bounds and just before the halftime. And that was a bad decision. And jumping off sides is a bad decision because all they have to do is look in at the ball.
That ball, you talk about a ball getting away from somebody. Larry Centers was the intended receiver, but that ball sailed 10 yards over his head.
You know what I think we're seeing right here is the effect of the 12th man. I mean, I really do. I think that that's starting to get to him. Now, the 12th man, I wasn't talking about these guys.
Either one of those could be the 12th man.
Yeah, they look like statues down there.
They look mad.
They could be the 12th, 13th, and 14th guy.
There's another guy.
15th
another guy. Bill Pickell.
Well, anyway, I think the noise was the 12th guy.
Turk back to punt it. Desmond Howard deep. Howard scampers out of bounds. There's another flag.
They're going to get him on that one because Desmond Howard was just trying to get out of bounds to stop the clock.
Matt Stevens again.
Watch Desmond Howard. He's just giving up there. I mean, part of that thing is, though, in Matt Stevens' defense there is Desmond Howard gave up before he got out of bounds.
There was no foul on the play.
Now they say no.
That's right.
Inbound, no foul.
That's right. That's right. See, because I think the first thing that he thought is that he was out of bounds when he just started to slow up. In fact, he almost didn't catch this thing.
Well, we talked about those lights.
It went right through it. He got if your hands don't get it, your elbow's better. But you see how he gave up before he got outside? Yep. And then when Stevens hit him, he was really still in bounds.
1st and 10 at the 41 for Detroit, 42 seconds left.
The only 15-yard penalty I ever had in my life was that play right there. Same type of thing.
They called you?
No, they called my guy. They called my guy. It was Jack Tatum hit the guy just like that when he was still in, knocked him out of bounds over the bench, and the guy said that he was out of bounds, and he wasn't. I mean, he hit him inbounds, but he hit him so hard.
He knocked him over the bench?
Yeah, so then then I called him a bad name, and the guy said, "Did you call me a bad name?" And I said, "You're the only bad name out here." And I called him again. He threw me 15 more.
I've got a feeling there's a lot more to that story.
Well, I mean, there probably is, but having said that, I mean, I'll just finish the story. But so now they get the ball. And, then they get 15, they get 15. Now they're down inside the 30-yard line, like that way, going that way.
Yeah.
Craig Morton goes back to pass. Boom. Phil Villapiano intercepts. We run it back to the other side of midfield. Ken Stabler on the first play throws a touchdown pass to Dave Casper. So I had to get one more shot into the official, so I went up and said, "That proves that you're that." And he didn't throw another.
That was a bad name you was on.
Yeah, it was a bad name. But, and I didn't mean to get into all that, but the same thing happened there, where when Stevens hit Desmond Howard, that was a legal hit inbound.
The amazing thing about that story, it has nothing to do with the bad name. It's that Tatum hit him hard enough to knock him over the bench. JB getting ready on the sideline. Terry, his usual studious self.
Howie,
the thinker.
Also the studious look.
Yeah. And Chris
Collinsworth saying, "Okay,
ever with it."
Okay, that's what I like about Howie. See, he's an old defensive lineman. He always watches the field. The others have their back to it. Howie has his eyes on the field.
Intended for Olivo. Look at Howie.
Yeah, well, he's looking back here. He's trying to find out what happened.
Terry's looking the same place.
Yeah, well, because, I mean, they may score it. I mean, Detroit could get a big play here. Remember, the last time they had the ball,
Terry might be looking in the stands.
That's when they hit their 3 wide receivers. And that wouldn't be a thing to try. That wouldn't be a bad thing to try and do right now.
They're watching their own highlights of this first half, so they can furnish us with that analysis.
An insight.
Here's Farad. Straight ahead to Brock Olivo. 21 seconds, now 20 left.
I think what the Lions want to do is let the clock run down here and take a shot at a field goal because they didn't get a first down.
And Hansen can reach it from a long way out.
That would be a 53-yard field goal, I think, from that spot. If they're at their 35, it's 52, 53, 54 yards right now. And they have to kick the field goal because it is 4th down. This is how you help a guy out of the pile, or you get him off your guy. By the face mask, there's nothing he can do.
Writhing on the ground. It's not funny.
That's Tony Semple. No, I mean, he's one of those guys that's always in the action. I was at practice here Friday, and Tony Semple got in 3 fights. In fact, I guess they do feel that it's too far here, Pat, because it is 4th down, and they're going to try and get the first down. And they do have 2 timeouts, so they can throw the ball and throw it and keep it inside.
20 seconds left, but they got to complete this pass. And they did complete the pass to Herman Moore.
And they could do it inside and then take the timeout.
Now they can take the timeout, and they've still got another one left. Timeout Detroit.
What you like to do is you like to save 1 timeout for your field goal in this situation. And now with, as you say, that 1 timeout remaining, now they can take another shot. I mean, and I believe that this is the area where you throw the ball into the end zone. In fact, the Lions don't have any. That was their last timeout. So now you have to throw the ball to the sidelines to get it out of bounds, or you have to throw it in the end zone.
This is what's going on right now. Is what you read about in the papers on Monday about very good clock management by.
And part of it is having your timeouts. I think too many teams waste timeouts during the half, and then they don't have them at the end of the half, or more importantly, at the end of the game.
Well, that's clock management.
And I think that they don't get to play in. They take timeout and all, and I think sometimes they take stupid timeouts.
Now they're going to run another play with 15 seconds left.
Well, they better get it in the end zone or out of bounds. Ooh, that's not where to throw it.
Dangerous place to throw it, and even if Moore had caught it, I don't think they had enough time.
No, you wouldn't. I mean, that's where you don't want to throw it. I think Bobby Ross realizes that and says, enough of that. Let's go for the field goal try right now.
You know, all that stuff I said about clock management, forget it. Because that wasn't a very good choice, right?
No, that wasn't. You know, that was the thing. I mean, if you're going to do that, as I said, you have to throw it in the end zone or to the sideline, but you can't throw it in the middle.
Hansen will try to make it 20-10. When he's ready, he'll put his arms over his head. There you go. And he's ready. 20-10. 5 seconds left on the clock before halftime.
Yeah, we always talk about these games, and you imagine, you know, the offense and the defense, and you know, who can get big plays on offense and defense. And then this game, this first half, has been about special teams. Been about a kickoff return, a punt return, some field goals, some field position, and those types of things. And of course, Herman Moore had that one big play, that out and up. But who would have thought yesterday at this time, Desmond Howard wasn't even a thought. Well, he could have been thought, but he wasn't part of this Detroit Lion offense or team.
There are halftime guys. They'll be here, and then we'll go back to the studios in Los Angeles as well. We got a cast of a bunch at the half. JB, Terry, Howie, and Chris are here. Back in the studio in Los Angeles, Chris, Marv, Jackie, and Chris.
There'll be a guy that will be part of the highlight package, Desmond Howard. He said we have a bunch, a way to cover a bunch. Remember when on Thanksgiving Day we were talking about how Detroit and Larry Peccatello cover the bunch?
Yeah.
They cover the bunch with a square. So that's what we're going to do at halftime. We got a bunch, and the bunch will be covered by a square.
Both bunches?
Yeah.
Larry Bowie fielded the kickoff. And that's the end of the first half. And the Lions got started a little bit slow, but the second quarter belonged to Detroit. And so does the lead. 20-10.
Well, they started.
It's calling them back out again.
They started to get their receivers on that one drive.
On the clock, left in the half. 2 seconds.
2 seconds. You're going to call all back for 2 seconds?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to. You have to play a 30-minute half.
What are you going to do with 2 seconds?
Well, I mean, they'll just come back and kneel down, but you can't play a 20, what would that be, 29 and 58 seconds. Yeah. You can't play that.
Noah Turner, I don't think, wanted to come back. 2 seconds, he says.
Well, all you have to do,
we got to get the Lion off the field.
They brought the Lion out. He landed for the halftime show. They got to get him out of there. The halftime guys were all ready. They were right in mid-sentence.
Give them the extra 2 seconds.
The guys in the studio, they were back there being covered by the square.
Our guys
are still running back in. Yeah. I mean, here comes Lions still coming out in the field. I bet you there are some that stay in there, though.
We're 2 seconds left in the half. 2 seconds.
The Redskins have just taken kneel down here. See, the real veteran players, they don't come all the way up to midfield either.
Have the Lions got enough people out there? I think they.
Yeah, they do. They have 11. Yeah.
Haul off and throw it.
Yeah, that's not a bad deal. There's only 2 seconds. Yeah. You might as well haul off and throw it.
He did, but to the referee. Detroit 20, Washington 10. We're at the half at the Pontiac Silverdome. The Lions lead the Redskins.
Do a better job stopping the draws and screens. Speaking of North Turner said Brad Johnson had a couple balls sail away from him in the first half, some passes that he should have hit, but this is the NFL. He expects to correct it in the second half. He says if they do hit those passes, it's going to be a different ball game, and on defense, they need to do a better job of stopping the deep passes from the Lions. Pat, John?
DJ, that's something the Redskins say just about every week. Here is Greg Hill. Out to about the 25, 20-10, the Lions lead. Let's look at first half statistics, John.
Well, you see the Redskins, they've rushed for 66 yards, but they only passed for 52, and that's a big thing. I think, that's the thing I was talking about, dinking and dunking. I think you have to take the ball up the field. The one thing that they did well, though, on defense is this 0 for 4, because Norv Turner was saying that one of the problems they have is third down conversions against them, and they haven't had any yet.
2nd and 6. That's Hill again. Just outside the 30 and just short of a first down by a couple of yards.
You say that's one of the things that Norv Turner always says, their defense has to do this or that. And I think Bobby Ross always says that they have to get the running game going, too. And, because they don't have a running game, but they want you to, if you don't respect the running game, then you become one-dimensional, and then it's hard to play this game.
Well, we were talking about Barry Sanders. Of course, he retired. And his replacement got hurt. He's out for the year. So they got Greg Hill from the Rams.
And they lost Cedric Irvin, a backup that they really liked. They lost him Thursday.
Farad, incomplete. Bounced off the arms of Jermaine Crowell. That's when you don't have faith in your running game. That's the play you run.
And that's a tough situation. That third and where it's longer than one. I think that they don't have that real short yardage thing where they can get 3rd and 2 and just pound it out against this Redskin team. So they had to kind of fake it and bootleg it, and that one didn't work.
Brian Mitchell back deep for the Redskins. John Jett to punt it. High kick, a flag on the play already. Mitchell signaled fair catch, drops it and got on it. But a flag on the play.
Yep, and it's going to be holding again. This one will be against Detroit, so they'll make them kick it again. That was a good punt.
Which allowed over 3,500 youngsters in Detroit the opportunity to play football.
The officials are in position to call holding on the punt. Remember, they called one on the Redskins in the first half.
Number 28, 10-yard penalty, repeat.
Ron Rice.
4th down.
Accepting the check is Galford President John.
Ron Rice plays a lot. He's the strong safety normally. Played free safety on Thanksgiving. Plays on the special teams, and they're going to call him right here for a hold. And it's the same type of thing that the Redskins did. They're the outside guy that is blocking the outside guy, and when that outside guy tries to go inside him, instead of getting their foot in position to stop him, they just grab him.
So Brian Mitchell moves up 5 yards, stands at his own 35.
He can get a shot at a good return here.
Chad again gets off a good punt. He's got a shot. Mitchell from behind by Uwezike.
So if you add up the stats on that 5-yard penalty, that was a heck of a lot more than 5 yards in field position.
Sometimes you forget about those things. That's the bridge to Canada here in Detroit, the only place that you go south from the United States to go to Canada.
Look at the pressure Brad Johnson's been under. Hurried 8 times, knocked down 6 times.
Brad Johnson. Pass is caught by Westbrook.
And that's the thing that they had to be talking about. As we said, they have to get the ball to their wide receivers. And even Brad Johnson said that last night when we were talking to him, that he has to get Michael Westbrook involved in the game early, and he didn't do it.
Nope.
That's the first pass right there. That's the first pass that Westbrook caught today.
1st and 10 at the Detroit 35. Johnson drops. Detroit pressure got to him. He didn't drop very far, did he?
No, he locked in, and the Detroit pressure, as you watch it, they're going to get there about the same time Johnson sets. See, he sets, and he tried to pump, and the pressure was there. They had the outside pressure, so he couldn't bounce to the outside. Then they had the inside pressure so that he couldn't step up.
Tracy Stroggins again. Ball was Porcher.
And they had Luther Ellis. He was straight up the middle there.
Flags all everywhere on the play. Brad Johnson pointing at somebody on the Detroit defense.
I think that his guy jumped though. I think the Redskins jumped.
Snap. False start.
Yep.
Offense number 63. 5-yard penalty remains. Second down.
Keith Sims, the left offensive guard.
You know, Keith Sims is having a tough time in there with Luther Ellis. And you see Ellis, he is so quick here that Sims is trying to get a jump on him. And, you know, you have to get a jump and get off on that ball and you know, get off when the ball is snapped. And Sims was about a half a beat early on that play. But that Ellis is so quick and so disruptive in there that you have to get some kind of jump on him.
That half a second can be valuable in those close quarters. Here's Brad Johnson. Wide open is Westbrook, and he's in the end zone. Washington moves closer. Brad Johnson finds Michael Westbrook.
And you know, it was just a matter of time. Westbrook hadn't caught a pass until just the one before. Watch him here. He's pointing inside. He's saying that there's a blitz coming. So then he's going to run a blitz pattern, but there was no blitz. It was just a zone. So he just ran right through the zone. And again, we talked in the first half about how deep those safeties were, and that you could throw inside in front of the safeties, and that's exactly where Michael Westbrook went.
From 39 yards out. So Brad Johnson thanking the offensive line for the time he had to throw that pass and hit Westbrook. And so now they narrow the lead of Detroit to 20-17. Back to 3.
To me, this is
Westbrook here. You see there's no one on him, and he's going to come up and run a post right into here. And you see they fake the blitz. Now it's his own. Now we can stop it right here. We can see here's Westbrook. Here's the depth of the safety, Ron Rice, and they want to hit him right in that hole. They hit him perfectly. Ron Rice takes a bad angle, and Westbrook scores a touchdown.
Ron Rice just too far away.
Well, they've been giving him that all day. I mean, into 2 deep, and that was a 3 deep.
Next week, it's a Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader. First, it's an NFC East battle as the Eagles try to slow down Emmitt Smith and the Cowboys in their run for the playoffs. Then the NFC Central leading, maybe, Lions clash with Warren Sapp and the Bucks. Coverage begins at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. The Lions, by that time, may not be leading the NFC Central.
They're going to have their hands full with these Redskins if the Redskins keep giving Brad Johnson protection and keep going to their wide receivers.
1st and 10 at their own 16. Flags from everywhere.
Looked like old Stubby jumped the hard count in the Stubberfield. Gus Farrat's gotten 2 or 3 times today.
Encroachment, defense number 94. 5-yard penalty remains. First down.
You see when your defensive lineman is someone that always comes up and hits you in the head. You see that? Yeah. Old Stubberfield standing there. Farmer Stubberfield.
Yep.
Takes the mouthpiece out and someone comes up and whacks him in the head a couple times.
That's for encroachment.
Yeah, and they tell him, you know, keep your head on straight.
1st and 5. It's up to the Redskin defense, the Lion offense. They almost got him again.
Almost got Wilkinson that time.
To David Sloan, complete up the middle. From Farrat.
That's the thing, you know, he can hardly walk, but watch him run. They know that he can get, and they're going to get him right into that area right there. You see Sloan run right up that thing. That's that 2 deep again.
Yep.
All he has to do is get by the middle linebacker who's coming to his side and in front of the safeties.
23-yard gain, 1st down. Crowell circles deep, and he takes the pitch. And he is taken out by Denton. Right now, for an update, let's return to Chris Myers in Los Angeles.
All right, Pat, in Chicago, the Bears had a 10-0 lead on the Packers. Green Bay took the lead, and then in punt formation, Todd Sullivan loses the ball. Keith McKenzie picks it up and takes it in for a touchdown. Brett Favre does have one touchdown pass and a couple interceptions as the Pack leads at 21-13. Back to Pat and John.
2nd and 6 here.
Every week, big old defensive lineman scoring.
That's Greg Hill, who is just trying to get back to the line of scrimmage.
Yep, that's the old saying. We saw Monty Clark, and he said that was Blanton Collier's thing when you say, "How you doing?" Just trying to get back to the line of scrimmage.
Just back where I started.
Yep, that's what the Lions were doing on that play before. They ran that option play, where you fake inside and then you pitch it outside and option that defensive end. They got Marco Coleman, but he did a pretty good job of getting back on it.
They haven't converted in a situation like this yet. On 3rd down. Farad to Crowell. They have now.
So that means that there's a good reason to start now. Farad had a blitz coming on him, and he knew that he had it, and he had to get rid of the ball. And again, when Crowell gets inside right there, Farad knows that he has him and he's going to get him the ball. The blitz and the pressure was coming from his backside. See, and he gets rid of that ball before they even get close.
And Matt Stevens has had a busy day, hasn't he?
He's been around a lot of stuff. He hasn't done a heck of a lot about it, the stuff he's been around.
1st and 10. Farad pumps. Goes deep and too deep. Crowell, the intended target.
Well, you know, they'd gotten that pump over here on the right side to Herman Moore in the first half, and that was against Champ Bailey. That time they tried to pump against Darrell Green.
He's seen it.
Yeah, he's Darrell Green in 17 years has seen everything. In fact, we were talking to Jermaine Crowell yesterday about it. He said, when Darrell Green was a rookie, I was 6 years old. And I'm gonna shake his hand and ask for his autograph after the game. Uh-oh. Can't do that.
Crowell, who Darrell Green was just covering.
False start, offense number 76. 5-yard penalty remains, 2nd down.
Was, what did he say, six years old when Darrell Green was a rookie?
6 years old when Darrell Green was a rookie. And he said he remembers seeing Darrell Green. All the way, Crowell was watching him all the way through grammar school, high school. Yeah, he was still, he was like in kindergarten. Darrell Green was playing in the NFL, and he said,
still play?
He said, I just want to shake his hand.
Yeah. What did he say?
He's going to ask him for his autograph.
He said he's prehistoric.
He's prehistoric, yeah.
To Greg Hill. Here's Darrell Green before the game.
But I didn't embarrass you. I slowed down. I didn't want it to drop 10 yards behind me. And everybody saying, man, who's that number 11 over there? Can't hit Green. Tell him I can still go now. Don't let the ball spot fool you.
Darrell Green has a little ball spot on top that he's worried about. He's also worried that people are going to think he can't run anymore, but he can.
He can run. Herman Moore is the intended receiver. Darrell Green's amazing. Not only does he have a great perception of the game itself, but he still has such a good time playing.
Well, and he always has that bounce in his step and that smile on his face, and it's still a game, and he still has fun playing, and that's on the field and off the field. He's a great guy. He gives back to the community, and he's a role model. He's a role model for anyone that is looking for someone as good on and off the field for a long time as Darrell Green.
John Jett's punt went straight up in the air. Very short punt fielded by the Redskins.
Guess Farad here. He hasn't worked a lot with Herman Moore. and he throws the ball to the outside. Herman Moore thought that he had him beat to the inside. He thought he had Stevens beat in the post, and you see him point inside. Just throw it into the post, and it would have been a touchdown.
The Redskins take it over. Johnson gets it out to Davis. Just short of the 30.
There's Daniel Snyder, the new owner of the Washington Redskins, who seems to be causing a lot of turmoil there, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's made himself heard.
Because then, well, they put the pressure on Norv Turner that you either get in the playoffs and win in the playoffs, or you're not going to be back next year.
2nd and 5. The Redskins down by 3. It's back to Davis. Flag on the play. Davis gets the first down, but there's a penalty on the play. Holding is going to be.
You know, one thing, they really haven't established a run today. I mean, by that I mean where they've gotten into any kind of groove with Stephen Davis. I think part of it because they really haven't tried. You know, they're playing centers, they're playing Mitchell, they're playing Davis, and sometimes you can get carried away, you know, with your substitution and forget.
Holding 52 is accepted. Holding 76 declined. The penalty is 10 yards. Repeat, 2nd down.
They accept the one against Raymer.
Yeah, here's Raymer right here in the middle, the center. You can see he grabbed right away. That's a tough thing. That's the onside. Here's the other one right there. Yep. When your feet fail you, then you have to hold. When he put his left foot back and gave away the inside, John Jansen had nothing else to do except hold.
2nd and 15. Brad Johnson incomplete and no penalty marker down. Connell, the intended receiver, covered by J.B. Brown.
You know, Howie Long was saying something at halftime that, you know, that Brad Johnson's arm could be a little tired.
Yep.
I do know that a few of them have gotten away from him today. That he didn't really throw that ball where he wanted it. And that's the toughest throw that you have. When you're on the far hash mark, throwing to the sideline.
3rd and 15.
Redskins aren't in a shotgun because of the noise.
Lions rush 4.
Now, there was a whistle that blew you didn't even hear.
That's
the crowd
right.
was so loud.
Prior to the snap, false start, illegal snap on the snapper. 5-yard penalty.
Illegal snap
4th down.
against the center. Yeah, think about you're given an ultimatum like that, like you were talking about a minute ago. You either win, get us into the playoffs, or you're not going to be back. That's got to be a difficult situation to work.
Yeah, but like I said in the pregame, you know, you put 100 times more pressure on yourself as a coach than any one individual or outsider or group can do. 100 times more.
Johnson drops.
What's this?
Jailbreak.
Oh.
Flag on the play again.
I think he threw that one away. Now, if he threw that one away from the end zone, that's a safety.
Yep.
That's David Boston's dad.
And now another flag, a hat. Ran out of flags.
You're right. When Phil Luckett does a game, things happen.
Yeah, especially here. Holding and intentional grounding.
Now, if the intentional grounding was out of the end zone, it's a safety. See, that's what they have to decide. If he's in the end zone, then that's a safety. Or if the holding is in the end zone, it would be a safety. Phil Luckett's going to be able to find his hat.
I don't know. He got a card from somewhere. This is a team meeting.
There were 2 fouls on the offense. Holding, number 64, is declined. Intentional grounding, number 14, is accepted. The penalty is loss of down at the spot of the foul, which makes it 4th down.
See, now, if neither the holding nor the ball thrown away was in the end zone, you see, Brad Johnson isn't in the end zone. He was awfully close, though, to a safety. And then you look at Andy Heck. He's outside there. He wasn't in the end zone either.
So Kirk will have to kick with his back right on the end zone line. Gets it out of there to Desmond Howard. He's around the corner and out of bounds at the 35-yard line of Washington.
Desmond Howard, I think he could have made a cutback, though, and made some more yards on that one. That's the second time it looked like he just ran out of bounds, but I thought he had a wall up that side.
At 17, the Lions lead the Redskins. Derek Smith took a shot in the side.
Yeah,
number 50.
right there is where he gets it. He didn't see that one coming at all.
The Lions at the Redskin 35. Barat looking left, throwing right. Gets to Herman Moore, who leans for a first down.
You know, Herman Moore is a tall receiver, and he always likes to catch the ball with his thumbs in. You know, so if you catch the ball above your waist, you catch it with your thumbs in. If you catch it below your waist, you catch it with your fingers in. And so he'll go down. He'll always bend down so that he can catch the ball above his waist with his thumbs together.
Another Redskin injury. Derek Smith left on the play before.
Second down, Detroit, the play resumes at what looks to be inches.
Wednesday, music's biggest stars come together for the last award show of the millennium. Live from the MGM Grand Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, the 1999 Billboard Music Awards, Wednesday at 8 Eastern Time, 7 Central Time on Fox. 2nd and 1 here. Herman Moore didn't lean quite far enough forward to get the first.
That was Tim Denton, the backup corner, who was the injured player. He's not on the field now. They took him off during that.
Gus Frerotte, the former Redskin, starting instead of Charlie Batch.
And here Herman Moore. This is interesting right here. Herman Moore again on Champ Bailey. And Bailey doesn't have any help deep right now. Yes, he does.
There he comes. Frerotte goes down. Kalu, who Noah Turner was saying is the only pass rusher, pressure applier type that the Redskins have.
And so what they have to do is they have to try and get Kalu in there as much as they can. And you see that they put him over the guard that time, over Tony Semple, and he just made a quick move. You know, and then just right up the field. He made a quick move on the line of scrimmage, one of those Olay type things, and then went right to Frerotte. I think Frerotte was looking out to his right to Herman Moore.
3rd and 3. Crowell was the man in motion. The fake bounces high in the air off the hands of Crowell.
You know, defensive linemen and linebackers are playing that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? You see that they tried to run a middle screen to Jermaine Crowell, and what he does is here he is in motion, and he goes over to here, stops, then comes back, and they try and hit him right in here. But watch this Redskin defense. They read the whole thing. See him stop there? Now he comes back. They fake the handoff, and they try and get it to him. But look at those 3 white jerseys form a triangle around him.
Jason Hansen from 41 yards away, 46 yards away, make it, with jet holding. Plenty long enough, but no good. Bobby Ross just shakes his head. 20-17. The Lions continue to lead it. 5:54 left in the third.
Redskins have to get the ball to their wide receivers. I think they also have to stay with their running game, and Stephen Davis, he hasn't carried the ball yet in the second half.
And he leads the NFL in rushing. Straight ahead from Brad Johnson to Sellers, who, as John Madden mentioned before, was starting at tight end in place of Stephen Alexander, who has problems with his hip.
Yeah, I think that, that the Redskins have to think in terms of running a little more to Stephen Davis, and then for their big plays going to their wide receivers. That's been what they've been successful at.
Davis didn't get much.
Of course, when the middle linebacker plays like that, Stephen Boyd jumps inside, so they try and get that counter thing, and you're going to see Trey Johnson is pulling. But watch number 57. He's going to run right up in right there, take on Trey Johnson, and make Stephen Davis cut back. That was a heck of a play by Stephen Boyd.
Big first down attempt right here. 3rd and 1.
I like Stephen Boyd.
Yeah.
I mean, he reminds me a little of Chris Spielman.
Very much so.
The way he looks, the way he plays, the intensity, all those kinds of things.
We just haven't seen him lined up in the backfield yet. To Centers, Larry Centers. And he'll get the first down. He gets up with a few words for Bailey.
Yeah, I think that was really on Alan Aldridge. What they're going to do is, you see Aldridge is number 55 out here, and they get Centers, and he just outruns Aldridge. See, he just can't get there. In fact, Aldridge got hurt earlier in the game, remember, and he still looks like he's hurt.
But he only missed one series of downs, and he was back. But you're right, he runs like he's still hurt.
Larry Centers and Bailey are talking about that collision they had. They both tried to get lower than the guy that was getting lower.
Incomplete.
Ooh, Robert Bailey almost had that one.
Did he ever?
Yeah, he's a good player. I mean, I've watched Robert Bailey play for a long time, and you think you get a backup corner in there, and he's a pigeon, you go to work on him. Robert Bailey is not that kind of guy. I mean, watch him here. He turns, and then he undercuts it, jumps inside, and takes a perfect angle for an interception.
That's just a good play. That's all you can say about it.
Great play.
The way it should have been done. 2nd and 10. Quick count. The handoff is to Davis. Davis to the 40. 41 maybe.
See, that's what they have to do. They have to hand the ball to Stephen Davis and let that offensive line establish himself, because the Redskin offensive line, because of the lack of consistent running by Stephen Davis, hasn't established anything. And I think so far the Detroit defensive line has won that battle.
They need 4. Davis goes out, and the receiving contingent, including Centers, comes in.
You got to get to the yellow line. Got to get beyond the yellow line.
Blitz coming. Johnson gets it up and gets to pass the yellow line, and Moore. That's Irving Fryer, the veteran, but there's a flag way back at the line of scrimmage. Illegal hands to the face again against the Redskins.
They're going to get another shot at 3rd down, but it's going to be longer this time. Think about Darrell Green being the 17-year veteran defensive back, Irving Fryer, 16-year veteran receiver.
Illegal hands to the face. Offense number 76. 10-yard penalty, repeat, 3rd down.
Rookie tackle John Jansen.
And that's the 12th penalty the Skins have had today. Here's John Jansen right here, the right tackle. Remember, this is the Eric Williams rule. See that left hand right to the face of Robert Porcher?
He's had his hands full with Porcher.
I think you have to let him do that, though.
Mitchell to the 40. Doesn't get the first down.
That was the thing that Bobby Ross was telling DJ Johnson at halftime that they have to worry about are those draw plays, and most of them come when Mitchell or Centers are in there on passing downs, and and the Detroit Lions are really in a pass rush mode in those situations.
Desmond Howard deep. Turk in to punt it. Matt Turk, who Desmond Howard made miss badly on his punt return for a touchdown. Be a good time for him to take off right here.
Yeah, Matt Turk has a lot better field position this time.
High kick. Desmond Howard signals fair catch. Makes it at the 11. So that's where the Lions will take over with 2 minutes left in the third on New Year's Day. A reminder that Fox will air the first game of the new millennium live from Dallas when the Texas Longhorns battle the Arkansas Razorbacks in the Southwestern Bell Cotton Bowl. New Year's Day on Fox.
Give that call one more time for Arkansas. Just one time.
One more?
Yeah. Woo-hoo.
Hey.
That's all point. And then Hawks come running all over.
Yeah, see people turning around.
We go, what in the heck just happened up there? Where'd that come from?
Rod up the middle. He's got Jermaine Crowell. And Crowell from behind Darrell Green prevented a touchdown.
Darrell Green had to prove himself. Crowell, 6 years old when Darrell Green started in this league, but Darrell Green still caught him from behind. What a throw, though, by Gus Frerotte. Here's Crowell. He runs the inside. He gets a step right there on Darrell Green. Perfect pass by Frerotte.
Yep.
But watch Darrell Green make it up and then make that shoestring tackle.
Oh, man.
That was a heck of a play. I mean, there's a lot of things. Crowell was good. Gus Frerotte was good. The protection was good. But Darrell Green, although he was beaten early, was also good.
Crowell took a look back. He might have seen that number 28 was chasing, and down goes Frerotte in the arms of Anthony Cook.
I don't think Frerotte saw Cook. He was trying to step up, and Anthony Cook came around and just took a good angle. Sometimes, you want to rush where the guy was, and you get his back shoulder, and he can step up on you. And sometimes if a rusher will just rush a little in front of him, they can stop that step up and sometimes get a sack.
2nd and 15. Moore moves in motion. Rod pump fake, and down he goes again from behind by Marco Coleman this time.
That was a heck of a play by Marco Coleman. I mean, when you can do something like that, when you can start upfield and then redirect yourself. Watch him here. He's going to start up and then redirect himself back when Frerotte starts to run. You see, he starts upfield there. Now when Frerotte starts to run, look how far he is. And he comes back and makes that tackle.
And if he doesn't make that tackle, Ferrat's got the first down.
This is some strange situations here, these third downs, some strange play calling. Last time, remember, was that screen to Crowell.
Frerotte. Johnny Morton makes the catch. Not enough for the first down, but they get Jason Hansen closer. And that's the end of the third quarter with the score. The Lions 20, the Redskins 17. Fox NFL Sunday from the Silverdome will continue after a word from your local Fox station. Gus Frerotte and the quarterback coach of the Lions. Left-handed quarterback he was, Jim Zorn.
And then Darrell Green, the guy that caught him. Watch Jermaine Crowell. 1, 2, 3 times he looks back. There's an old rule about speed. If you have it, you never look back. Crowell has speed, and he did look back not once, not twice, but 3 times he looked back at Darrell Green, and that's why the Lions are trying for a field goal now.
He must have known who it was back there.
Well, he kept looking.
Hansen from 37 yards is good this time. The Lions increase their lead to 6 with the fourth quarter left. What might Santa be bringing you for Christmas, John?
Well, Santa.
A bus ride?
Yeah, coal and an orange and socks. Santa was an old offensive lineman. You know that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was a big old nose tackle. And he played offensive tackle, played right tackle, played the nose on defense when they went both ways.
This is James Thrash. And No fooling this time.
No, they got their lanes down now. Remember earlier we pointed out where the outside guy and the second guy in got caught to the inside, didn't stay in their lanes. That time they stayed in their lanes. There was no way. Watch, these two guys are not going to let him come up and get to the outside. They stay outside. See, stay outside, stay outside, stay outside. Force him to the inside and make the play. Look, there's two guys waiting out there.
Still there.
They're not going to let that happen again.
Right. First down, Redskins. And they're deep in their own territory.
Both Brad Johnson and Gus Frerotte have thrown 26 passes. Johnson only for 130 yards. Frerotte 265.
Johnson.
Holy moly.
Screen pass is diagnosed by Chris Claiborne and early and very effectively.
Yeah, that was the thing. They thought that the Lions didn't have good linebackers in coverage, and they thought that they could work on them with this kind of thing, with these screen passes and those kinds of things. And the Lion linebackers have done very well against the backs and tight ends of the Redskins.
2nd and 15. They lost 5.
That's Chris Claiborne's second big play today. Remember earlier he tipped the ball?
Sure do. Here's Johnson. He gets it out to Stephen Davis, who got back to the line of scrimmage, the original line.
I think that's the thing that, you know, the Redskins now don't really have good field position to open up, and it's easy to say that, you know, you have good outside receivers, you have to get the ball to them, but to do that you also need better down and distance situations and better field position than they're in right now. I mean, with this noise and this crowd in this situation, they better watch out. There's one guy who's not going to be rushing him.
3rd and 9. Johnson to Connell.
That was a heck of a play by Brad Johnson.
Yes, it was.
Standing in there. You know, and he had good pass protection on that play, and he was able to step up and hit Connell in the middle. And we talked about how they have a pretty good middle. They put Robert Porcher over on the left side. You see him. He was a pass rusher. He got knocked out right at the end there by Andy Heck. Now, if there is an opening in this Detroit zone, it's right there in the middle, behind the first layer and in front of the second layer.
Fake to Davis. Johnson deep to Connell. And it's picked off by Mark Carrier. And Carrier back to his feet, still going. Tackled at midfield is Mark Carrier.
Mark Carrier, the free safety. We said how deep the safeties of Detroit were playing. Mark Carrier is one of those safeties who was playing deep. They tried to fool him with a bootleg and then get deep. Mark Carrier was just running with all the way with Connell, and it was just a little underthrown. Watch, they both go up. The ball is a little underthrown. Mark Carrier comes up with it. I don't know. Did that ball hit the ground?
That was close now. And
earlier I said it did, and you said it did, and that's what Norv Turner's talking about there.
He's going to challenge this one, I'll bet you. They'll look at it again.
See, I don't think that one hit the ground either.
I think I agree with you, but he's saying that he was down because of contact. Washington has challenged that interception by Carrier. Luckett is looking into the tunnel again.
I think Norv Turner is challenging two things.
Yeah.
One, the interception. Did it hit the ground? We have a picture here where it looks like it did hit the ground right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then two, if it didn't, was he down by contact?
Well, I don't think there's any question about that.
What do you say? The ball hit the ground?
No, I say he's down by contact, and I do think the ball hit the ground.
I don't know that he's down by contact.
Okay.
Where's the contact?
Well, when he dove.
Yeah, but then he didn't have he
didn't have the ball
then,
right.
so it would have to be contact after he had the ball.
After reviewing the play, the pass was incomplete as the ball touched the ground. Incomplete pass. There is no timeout for Washington. No timeout.
So the ball did hit the ground,
and whether he was down by contact or not doesn't make any difference.
Well, the way he saw it hit the ground.
Yeah. You don't think it did?
You can argue. Well, I thought his left hand was under the ball when the ball went down. I thought Mark Carrier's left hand was under the ball.
Well,
but it doesn't make any difference what you think. I mean, it's what he looks at and he sees and he thinks.
If you're expecting a quiet evening, come to the Silverdome.
But I like instant replay. I mean, I'm not one. Sometimes it's vulnerable and these things are easy to jump on, but I think that that they can work a little on the system. I don't think the system is perfect, but I think the idea of instant replay is important, is needed, and is working pretty well.
And we saw it work twice today. Both challenges by Washington. Both upheld.
And they were tight ones.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, that was tight.
Second and 10. Johnson gives to Davis, and there's nothing there. Alan Aldridge in the bottom of the pile.
Mark Carrier had that interception, and Mark Carrier was a guy that was fined $50,000 and suspended for a game. Remember, he didn't play. He didn't play on Thanksgiving, and he said he's appealing the $50,000 fine. And he just got a letter the other day where they're going to have a hearing on January 16th. Which is kind of odd. I think that's a Sunday.
Yeah, I think it is.
I also think it's a playoff day.
Here's Johnson. High, intended for Westbrook.
That was Westbrook on Westbrook. This was Mark Carrier's play on Antonio Freeman that hit right there. Helmet to helmet. Antonio Freeman got a concussion. Mark Carrier was suspended for a game, fined a game check, and $50,000. And that's what he's appealing, the amount of the fine.
Turk back to punt. High snap. He just got it. Gets off a good kick under the circumstances. Desmond Howard says stay away. And the ball bounds out of bounds. 11:34 left to play. Detroit up by 6. At the Silverdome. 23-17 Detroit. The Lions have the ball. And a very interesting contest.
So far, Gus Frerotte is 17 out of 26, 265 yards, and that one touchdown to Herman Moore.
You see the rating? 111.9. Here's a blitz.
Pretty good.
Incomplete. Intended for Johnny Morton.
One thing I think that Darrell Green proves every game that he plays, he can still run because they still challenge him. I mean, Darrell Green always has that height thing, that you can always up jumping. And he said, I have a theory about height. He said the ball has to come down. And who's ever there with their hands when the ball gets down is going to get it anyway. And it's overrated because he's played in college. He played 17 years in the pros, and that hasn't bothered him. But everyone will say, oh, the receiver's taller than you are. Has been all my life.
Hold it down. Derek Smith, who got hit and was helped over to the sideline earlier, made the hit on Greg Hill.
Derek Smith hit that one like a linebacker hits him. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, you're supposed to hit and play square. He plays off the guard, and look how square he is. And then he bends his knees, gets right underneath him. That was a picture-perfect.
3rd and 14. Nearly enough for a first down. That's Brock Olivo, who made the catch. You're talking about Darrell. I guess over the years, you and I have been together 19 years. He's probably the one player, single player that we have talked to more.
And he's always fun, and he always has something to say, and you're always happy when you see Darrell Green. And you know, that last play, they were trying to go deep. Johnny Morton was trying to go deep on the right side against Darrell Green, and Darrell Green had him covered.
He might be the only guy on the left in the league who's been playing as long as we've been broadcasting. Together, I mean. That's Mitchell. And he's around the corner and up the field to the 30. A flag on the play about the 36, 37. And here come the flags flying out. And if I didn't know, I would guess it was Matt Stevens involved in some way.
Poor old Matt Stevens.
Yeah.
He's had a heck of a day. He's been pushed and pulled and shoved and knocked, and he's knocked.
Illegal block in the back. Receiving team number 88. 10-yard penalty.
James Jenkins.
James Jenkins is right here, and you can see once the old rule is, I used to always tell my players, if you can read their name or see their name, don't touch them. Jenkins did.
There's Russ Grimm, the old hog.
Yep, he's the only guy. When you did that Arkansas hog call, he's the only guy that came running.
Yeah.
Russ Grimm, the line coach, doing a heck of a job with
really
this Redskin offensive line.
Brad Johnson.
Oops, not that time.
Ball came loose, and I believe the Lions have it. They do. Westbrook was saying he was down. He's trying to claim that. Claiborne coming up with the ball.
Claiborne's third big play, but I'll tell you who started it. Robert Porcher.
Yep.
Porcher gets a good rush here, and he makes Brad Johnson throw the ball a little sooner than he wants to. Westbrook has it. Westbrook catches that ball and it's just stripped out of him. Watch, Bailey is right there. Claiborne jumps on it. Watch, the first guy there is going to be Porcher. You see, he's right there. You see Brad Johnson, although he threw a perfect pass, he couldn't step up. And he had to step square, and maybe a little came off of it.
And Westbrook playing with a cast on his arm. And the ball come loose. And the Lions get the ball out to Morton, who was wrestled to the ground by Darrell Green.
Porcher has had a big game today. I
The
mean,
last two times we've seen him, he's had a big game.
He's been putting a lot of pressure on Brad Johnson, and not getting there all the time, but just always there, and always kind of pecking away at him. There's another 91. That's the elder Porcher. The one that's playing is Robert Porcher the third. Robert Porcher the second is up there watching.
Johnson, beg your pardon. Flag on the play was Farrat to Schlesinger, and a flag on the play again.
Derek Smith and Sean Parker, the tacklers for Washington.
There's no foul for illegal contact. The ball had already been thrown. No foul for illegal contact. Third down.
Third down coming.
Yeah, once the ball has been thrown, you can't have illegal contact if you're playing him, because then someone else is running a pattern, then that guy becomes a defender, is what they're saying there.
3rd and 2.
Here's one that they didn't see. Tony Semple hands to the face to Stubblefield. That goes on all the time in the pit. Oh, I think he jumped. Got to call that, I think, against the Lions, but I thought it was Stubblefield. I think they're going to say
prior to the snap, false start, offense number 82. 5-yard remains, third down.
Call to Jermaine Crowell.
Yeah, and there's no reason for that to happen. I mean, there's no reason for a wide receiver to jump. He doesn't have to go anywhere. I mean, those linemen are in there. They got big old linemen on, and they're fighting for their lives. There's no reason for some guy outside that's looking in to jump. That's the second time we've had it in this game. Won by both teams.
3rd and 7. Here's Farrat. Incomplete. Intended for David Sloan. That was not Gus's best pass.
No, and there was one because there was good coverage. You know, sometimes if you look and you're going to throw to a guy and then you see that there's good coverage there, rather than trying to stick it in there when you can't, you just kind of throw it away. And he may have done that to save this field goal position.
1 of 11. He may have. You're right. 1 of 11 on third down conversions by Detroit.
Bill Ritchell, he goes through, up, then back down. Nice. So the shoulder straightened out.
52 yards out. Is good. Is good. Jason Hansen has got plenty of leg. Fox Sports presents Olympic and world champion athletes in the most dynamic head-to-head competition of the season. Skating's elite team up in the second round of the Grand Slam of Skating Pro Super Teams Challenge. That's coming up next here on Fox.
Now the Redskins are going to have to start to press a little because now they have to think in terms of 2 scores. They do have all their timeouts and they have time to get those 2 scores, but I don't think they can keep fooling around with that dinking and dunking. I mean, I think they're going to have to get the ball. And of course, the reason they just got that field goal is Brad Johnson did his job. He threw it to Michael Westbrook. Westbrook fumbled the ball,
turned it over,
and then they got the ball there. So you can't say that Brad Johnson didn't do it or he didn't get it to his wide receiver, but they just have to keep doing that because now they have 8 minutes, 23 seconds, but they need 2 scores.
Hansen to kick off. To Mitchell and Thrash. Thrash earlier brought one back 95 yards, a kickoff return. And then Desmond Howard answered with a punt return touchdown for Detroit. This is going to be Thrash. To down it in the end zone. That's what you'd like to do every time if you're the kicking team.
I'll tell you one thing, they're keeping that outside guy out there. You know, you number your guys from, I was talking about 5-man and 4-man. You number them from the outside. The outside guy is 5, next guy in is 4, 3, 2, 1, being next to the kicker, then going out the other side. You know, L1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But since that Thrash touchdown, that 5 guy has been staying out there. Watch as we just come down here. Here's the 5 guy, and there's no way that he's going to get caught inside anymore. He's staying out there. And Thrash may return a kick, but he's not going to return it outside the 5-man.
1st and 10 Washington. They need to go up 80 yards to get closer. Brad Johnson is swamped. The ball is loose. Luther Ellis. Big Luther Ellis.
Big Luther Ellis got partway up there. Big Luther Ellis was a basketball player in high school, and he thought he was going to play at the University of Utah. Watch the pressure here. You see Johnson, he started to pump, he started to step up, then he had to pull the ball down. Then James Jones was right there. James Jones hits him. Luther Ellis is there. He picks it up. Watch when he pumps. Now he steps up right there. Jones hits him right there. The ball goes out right into Luther Ellis's hands. Whew. Those guys, that's a good combination inside, that James Jones and Luther Ellis.
Getting better every week. Hansen for the extra point.
That one put the icing on the cake, as they would say.
Hansen's extra point is good. 33-17. That was ruled a fumble, which Luther Ellis caught in midair and rambled and rumbled into the end zone.
Big play by James Jones. He's a
Those of you who watched the Packers defeat Chicago 35-19, welcome to the Pontiac Silverdome, where the Lions' Luther Ellis just scored a touchdown.
James Jones hit Brad Johnson, and as James Jones hit him, the ball popped out, popped right into Luther Ellis's hands. He takes it into the end zone, tried to jump into the stands and couldn't get up there.
To summarize what's happened briefly, Washington has committed 3 turnovers, Detroit none. Washington has been penalized 13 times for 112 yards. Detroit 7 for 55. Thrash has a 95-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, and Desmond Howard, who was just signed by the Lions, has a punt return for a touchdown.
And he was signed by the Lions because Terry Fair was injured Friday night, broken knuckle, couldn't practice yesterday, could be out for the season, they say. So they flew in Desmond Howard last night.
Hansen kicks off to Brian Mitchell. And Mitchell is out to the 25, where the Redskins will take over. Here are the last 2 touchdowns. Brad Johnson to Michael Westbrook.
That one is the one we just saw there where James Jones hit Brad Johnson.
That looked exactly like a play in the Alabama-Florida game last night. Johnson's been under pressure.
Look at that. They've sacked him twice, hurried him 10 times, knocked him down 9, and had an interception.
Now he's got to go to work. 7:58 left.
He really has to go to work.
In a hurry.
He has to go to work quickly. He has to have quick results.
Porsche.
They better get Porsche blocked, or
Yeah.
he's going to kill Brad Johnson.
Well,
Watch it, the shot that he takes on him right here. I mean, Porsche is coming right here. And watch, he just gets by Jensen so quickly. And although Brad Johnson gets rid of the ball, I mean, Robert Porsche, the second, is right there. Robert Porsche, the third, I mean. The second's sitting up here.
Well, Jansen's going to think all 3 of them are rushing before the day gets over. And here comes the pressure again. That time from Jones. The pass is complete to Larry Centers.
Remember before the game, this is Ray Roberts, the offensive tackle. He was taking one of those coaches' chalkboards out there, Pat, and he was making a drawing.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Brad Johnson's, of course, number 14.
And look what it says. Can I have my neck back, please? And that was Robert Porsche that he was drawing as the pass rusher. The things offensive linemen do before a game, huh?
Yeah, and he's pretty good. Here's Johnson back to throw it. And misses Larry Centers. Covered by Aldridge.
Yeah, we were talking about James Jones, who made that big play for the touchdown. His wife was waiting for a transplant, and she's number 1. She's waiting for a pancreas and kidney. And she's number 1 in Iowa and in Wisconsin. And he has a beeper that he keeps with him all the time. His wife is in Iowa. He gives it to the trainer during the game. If she is going to, if there's a donor available and she has a kidney and pancreas, he's going to leave and go there immediately. But last week,
even in the middle of the game,
even in the middle of the game. On Thursday, she was number 2. She has since moved up to number 1.
The deep throw is caught by Westbrook as he moves to the Lion 30.
Well, you wonder how he got that in there in front of Mark Carrier. You know, we talked about these safeties being deep all day in there. So first of all, you have to get beyond the short guys. Then you want to get in front of the deep guy, and he got beyond the short guy and in front of the deep guy. And the deep guy there, Mark Carrier, I wonder if that fine had something to do with it, because that wasn't a real Mark Carrier
I was just thinking
there.
that. I was just thinking that.
That was almost a miss.
1st and 10. Johnson going for Westbrook. Touchdown. Touchdown, Redskins. Bailey doesn't believe it. Neither do some fans in the nearby stands who are throwing stuff on the field right now.
Well, it was just a matter of time, and that was what they had to do, is get the ball to Westbrook. This is where they were practicing before the game. They were worried about the lights. He just gets that ball right up over Bailey. Westbrook holds on to it. You know, that we talk about the broken wrist and the cast in the right hand. What, he even takes that hand off it and just keeps it in his left hand. Does he have control, and is he inbounds?
This might be challenged as well.
Well, they have to challenge it before the ball snapped.
Welcome to those of you who watched Atlanta beat New Orleans 35-12 and Cincinnati over San Francisco 44-30. Welcome to the Silverdome in Detroit. Pat Summerall with John Madden. There have been 2 challenges of instant replay upheld, both for Washington. And I'm not sure if Bobby Ross is going to challenge this or not. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Complete for a touchdown.
Detroit is challenging. As they get ready to go to the black box and look at that's Phil Luckett, the official, who's headed over, the referee. And he's been a busy man this afternoon.
Look at the crowd above there are telling him that they only had 1 foot in.
Yeah.
I think he only did have 1 foot in, but was he pushed was he pushed to make the 2nd foot go out?
Did a remarkable job to hang on to the ball.
That's what we were looking at. Here's the first angle right here. Has possession. That left foot comes down.
His feet are
knees down. Remember that deal that 1 knee equals 2 feet. That's it. So you don't have to worry if a knee hits. If the knee hits, then you don't worry about the foot. So the knee hit down inbounds. So I think he's inbounds.
Well, the feet hit down inbounds, but I'm not sure he had possession of the ball then.
Okay. Well, let's see. He has possession
now, he's got
and his knee hit. So he had possession and his knee hit because it's that old equation that goes way back to Art McNally. 1 knee equals 2 feet. Was the knee in, though?
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I know the other shot looked like the knee was in, and that shot there looked like maybe the knee was out.
The feet were in, but did he have possession when the feet were in?
He has possession now. If he comes down with it.
Well, now he's okay.
If he has both feet.
The official
looked tell by that angle.
I can't either.
See, because he has to come down. And he has to have possession. There's 1 foot, knee. I don't know if that knee's in or out.
I don't either.
After reviewing the play, the pass was incomplete as the knee hit down out of bounds. Incomplete pass. There is no timeout charge, no timeout.
The knee was out of bounds.
Yes, it was.
1 knee equals 2 feet, but that 1 knee has to be in bounds.
So Norv has won 2 and lost 1 today. But I still like it. Still like instant replay.
I do too. I mean, that's the reason that we have it, to correct the wrong. And it was funny, the fans down in that end zone where Phil Luckett, we're telling him, 1 foot, that's all he had was 1 foot. But again, if the knee comes down, it doesn't make any difference where the feet are. And you're going to see the knee comes down, but when the knee comes down, it's out of bounds. See, there's the knee, but the knee is out of bounds.
But the feet are in bounds, but he didn't have possession.
A lot of stuff today.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
33-17. And challenges.
Almost 33-24. Reversal. Here's Brad Johnson back to throw. Gets it outside to Davis. And Davis gets only 2 or 3. Those of you who just joined us, we're at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Washington. 3 turnovers, Detroit none. Points off those turnovers. Detroit's got 10, Washington none. James Thrash earlier of the Redskins brought a kickoff back, 95 yards for a touchdown, and then Desmond Howard followed that almost immediately with a 68-yard punt return for a touchdown. And Desmond Howard just arrived on the scene last night.
And I think this crowd has really bothered the Redskins with the turnovers and penalties they have.
Johnson hits, and this one is in bounds. That's to Irving Fryer. First down, Redskins, and a flag on the play. And back at the line of scrimmage. And I saw Brad Johnson just shaking his head.
These are the returns that you were talking about. It's not always the offense and the defense. Here's a Desmond Howard return. We just saw the Thrash return. That has been part of it. Turnovers have been part of it. And then the Redskins have had 14 penalties today. I think that's been part of it.
That was just the 14th. Team record is 17. North Turner looking on. They had picked up a first down. A flag on the previous play while we were replaying those long returns. 3rd and 18. Johnson hit just as he let it go. And the interception by Boyd. And Stephen Boyd out of bounds. The Lions take over.
I'll tell you, Stephen Boyd got that interception, but that defensive line, and I said this earlier in the game, that the offensive line of the Redskins is better than that. They never did control this game. The Lions' defensive line controlled the line of scrimmage and made these kind of plays happen because they have been after and on Brad Johnson all day. And I'll tell you, when you get hit when you're throwing, the ball doesn't go where you want it to, and it comes right back at you.
Negative turnover ratio, which they have today, hasn't been good to North Turner. It's not good to many coaches.
Yeah, and I think, you know, he didn't get his running game going. He didn't establish Stephen Davis. His offensive line didn't take over the game.
All right. To Herman Moore. Picked up about 5.
We have a good one coming up next week. We have the Lions again down in Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay plays Minnesota.
These Lions are getting to be a fun team to watch. I mean, they really, that defensive line plays extraordinary. Those linebackers, Stephen Boyd is playing well. Then on offense, they got those receivers that can make big plays at any time. Gus Frerotte is playing with a heck of a lot of confidence, and they think that Charlie Batch is going to be ready next week.
And he thinks so too. 2nd and 5. Handoff is to Greg Hill. Saw some daylight, but was cut down by Kennard Lang.
What the Lions are trying to do now is just run some time off the clock. They're just going to keep the ball on the ground, make the Redskins use their timeouts.
They just used one.
And if the Lions win today, it'll be the first time since October 3rd at 1965.
And only 4 active players were born before the victory.
And here's 2 guys that played in that game in 1965, Sonny Jurgensen and Sam Huff, the old quarterback and the old linebacker. They played in that 1965 game.
At RFK Stadium or here?
I think it was here.
It was here.
I mean, it was here in Detroit, not here in this stadium.
It was
here
at Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, Tiger Stadium.
Greg Hill chased backwards. Hang on to the ball. He started to run a sweep. Now they'll have to punt.
Mark Carrier still worried about that $50,000. He said if they want to fine me and punish me, fine. But he said when you take $50,000 away from the guy, plus a game check, he said you're punishing a lot more than the guy. I mean, you're punishing family and people that depend on him. That's going to be his side of the story.
If you took $50,000 from me when I was playing, I'd have to find other means of employment.
Where would they find $50,000 to take away from you when you were playing?
They wouldn't find it. It might be what they call incarcerated.
I wonder if Sonny Jurgensen and Sam Huff, I wonder if they had $50,000 when they played.
Their combined salaries might have been that.
There's Terry Fair, who was the starting corner. Practiced here Friday, was fine. Friday night, he fell down going upstairs and broke a knuckle in his right hand. Went to the hospital. They put a cast on it. He came yesterday with a cast on it. They said he couldn't play. They're going to do some more x-rays on it tomorrow to see if they need surgery. That may need a screw or a plate or something like that.
They had to put a pin in there, I heard.
Yeah, and there's even talk, I mean, I don't know how or why, but there's even talk that, he could be out for the remainder of the season. But I don't believe that. I don't see how you could break something in your hand and be a cornerback and be out for the season.
Jet is back to punt. Brian Mitchell for the Redskins deep.
You know who I feel for is Norv Turner. He's a good coach, and he does a good job. And something like this happens, and then then he has an owner who's probably going to pull some wrath out.
You know what? As you look ahead, look toward the playoffs. These Lions are tough, particularly here. They are really tough.
Yeah, they're a completely different team on artificial turf. I mean, they're a team that was
Prior
built.
to the snap, false start, offense number 36. 5-yard penalty remains, 4th down.
Yeah, they're a team that was built for artificial turf. There's Charlie Batch. We were talking to him yesterday, and he's ready in an emergency capacity today. Today, by the way, is his birthday. And he knew he wasn't going to start today. Bobby Ross made that decision Thursday. But Charlie Batch feels, and Bobby Ross feels, that he may be ready next week.
Chet punt bounces and bounces and bounces out of bounds at about it looks about the 11. Charlie Batch was out throwing earlier before the game ever started.
Well, he comes out there with Jim Zorn. You see, he's a quarterback coach downfield, and Jim Zorn makes him, before the game, throw all the passes. And you can see that one there is the one that got away from him. As a matter of fact, even Bobby Ross was saying, and Charlie Batch says, about 1 out of every 5 gets away from him. Bobby Ross said, and I worry about that 5th one. That 5th one can turn up going the other way. And the other thing that I noticed in just watching him practice alongside of Gus Frerotte, he doesn't have the velocity on his ball that Gus Frerotte has.
When he's ready to come back, does Bobby Ross have to make a decision between him and Frerotte?
I think so. I mean, Gus Frerotte is playing very well and playing with a lot of confidence. And personally, I wouldn't change until I had to.
Down goes Johnson. Dan Owens. They ran a stunt, and nobody picked up Dan Owens.
Yeah, they got him going now, and like I said, they established the line of scrimmage. The Detroit Lions won that battle, and then you get the score going, and now there's no way that they can stop him. And every time Brad Johnson goes back, it's going to be like a jailbreak.
Johnson and the offensive unit retreat. He gives on the draw play to Brian Mitchell. Mitchell out past the 15.
That's about all he had left. I mean, he was, the defensive line was getting back there almost as quickly as Brad Johnson.
Today's game is being produced by Bob Stinner, directed by Sandy Grossman. The associate directors Mike Roig, broadcast associates Charles McDonald and Mark Mata. Technical producers Bob Muller. Porsche all over Johnson again. That's complete to Mitchell. Didn't get the first down. 2-minute warning. Detroit 33, Washington 17. Today's pregame show was produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy. The associate director of the pregame show is Jennifer Love. Senior producer is Bill Brown. The executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorin and David Hill.
Yeah, we just showed a picture there of Gus Frerotte, who has to be one happy guy.
Yep.
For, when you have a team that you play for and then they lose confidence in you and you lose confidence in yourself. I mean, Gus Frerotte did that, and then they cut you, and then you can come back and beat them. I'll tell you, that's big. I mean, he couldn't say much about it before the game. He might not say much about it after the game, but you know what the feeling is.
The feeling, and I said to him yesterday, you have any wishes for revenge? And he quickly said, no, not that word. But yes. Get even, maybe.
And he's had a long day today. Is John Jansen, the rookie tackle of the Redskins. He's from Michigan, and he's going to be a heck of a tackle. But Robert Porsche just took him to school today.
Yeah, part of his education took place today.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big part. I mean, Porsche went outside him. He went inside him. He bull rushed him. He clubbed him. He did everything you can do. And John Jansen will learn from that. You hope, John.
Well,
Jansen.
Come on, baby.
he better, or he won't be playing.
Well, yeah, he'll be playing. I mean, I think he's going to be playing for a long time. And
I do too.
but Robert Porcher, you just see how good a player he is. I mean, you always look at Porcher and you think that he is undersized, and then you see him take big guys and just knock them around. So he just has to have great leverage.
This is a Washington timeout. With Herman Moore back and with Jermaine Crowell and Johnny Morton, these Lions presented some pretty powerful offense.
Yeah, and they have to get the ball in their hands. They're their playmakers, and they did that today. That's what they did, and that's what the Redskins didn't do. And then they get Desmond Howard. I mean, they were worried about their kick returner. In fact, they had talked to Desmond Howard even before Terry Fair, had his injury, because they weren't satisfied with what they were doing. And then when Terry Fair couldn't play, then it became an emergency thing, so they flew him in last night. An interesting thing about this game, I was just thinking, there's 50 points scored in this game,
right,
and there hasn't been one play inside the red zone. I mean, you think of the returns, and every touchdown has either been a long return, it's been a field goal, or it's been a long play, long pass.
Or that turnover that Luther Ellis got.
Turnover, right.
Yeah. Brad Johnson looks left. Pass caught by Westbrook.
And that's what did the Redskins in today. I think, a big part of it was the way the Lions played. But I think the crowd helped. I think the crowd was very influential in this game because, the Redskins had the turnovers, the Redskins had the penalties. The Redskins played a sloppy game, and I think part of it was caused by this crowd.
This crowd can get loud. Pass outside quickly. For Johnson to Westbrook. The Redskins were in first place and still are in first place for the moment, at least. That's their remaining schedule: Arizona, Indianapolis, San Francisco,
Offside.
and Miami.
Defense, number 95. The 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
And Detroit, they can do it by themselves. Tampa Bay, Chicago, Denver, and Minnesota, 3 division games.
Yeah, and 2 of those games we're going to be at Tampa Bay next week, and then the final game of the season, Minnesota. I think 2 guys that have done a good job on this defense, too, are J.B. Brown, who had to come in for Terry Fair, and Robert Bailey, who's playing for Brian Westbrook. And because you would think that, if you're going to take advantage of someone, they've lost both corners. The Redskins have, great wide receivers and quarterback that they would take advantage and go after these guys, and they didn't, or if they did, they couldn't.
Tell you who else has done a heck of a job is Bobby Ross and his staff.
Yeah,
they really have.
Well, yeah, when you look, Barry Sanders doesn't play, and then everyone thinks they're dead, and then Herman Moore gets hurt right off the bat.
Mitchell.
Kolakowski's eventually going to get there. Did you see him?
Yeah.
Number 52, he was chasing him all the way down the field. He got by him, but he just turned and he chased him all the way.
Kolakowski had a big interception on Thanksgiving Day.
Thought he had a touchdown, but got tackled right there in the 1-yard line.
The NFC East standings: Washington 7-5. The Giants 6-6 now after beating the Jets today. Dallas 6-5. They play New England tonight. Arizona not out of it, 5-6.
No one's out of it.
No one's out of it.
In that division, it's one that no one wants to take it over. I mean, I've always thought that now is where you make your run. From Thanksgiving till now is when you make your run to a championship. No one in the Eastern Division is.
Well, look at the Central.
This one's going to be tight all the way. I think
don't count out Green Bay.
No, and Minnesota could still be. Although I think the Rams are the best team we've seen, but Minnesota could be the team too.
Johnson's arm was hit just as he let it go. The Redskin lineman comes out of there with it. Trey Johnson, his first carry of the year.
I tell you, they've hit Brad Johnson more today. In fact, I think they're saying this is a sack.
Porsche.
Yeah, I mean, and they're spotting it right there. Here's Porsche again. We talked about what he was doing to John Jansen. I mean, he's gone inside him, outside him, every side of him you can go.
Too much speed.
And you can see what they're saying is it was a sack right there. The ball was fumbled, so it's spotted right where it was fumbled, because in the last 2 minutes, remember, the only guy that can advance a fumble is the guy who fumbled the ball. I remember how that rule started, as a matter of fact.
I bet you do. To Brian Mitchell. There's something about a Stabler fumble and somebody.
Right. San Diego.
This is Pat Summerall for John Madden and DJ Johnson saying so long from the Silver Dome, where once again the final score is Lions 33, Redskins 17. Be sure to stay tuned to Fox Sports for our postgame show with JB, Terry, Howie, and Chris right here. Final thoughts right after these messages. For more information on today's game and the latest NFL news, log on to foxsports.com.